9 Hells Purgatory, Nether City. After Xianxia and the spirit race had left, the human experts from Spirit Realm were temporarily trapped inside 9 Hells Purgatory. With nowhere to go, they decided to stay in Nether City for now. Ling Yushi was the city's mayor. However, her condition was growing worse and worse. Irregularities kept happening while she was absorbing Austin's soul imprint. The activity in her soul grew more and more turbulent. Calamity was just around the corner. Since Xianxia's dark soul beast avatar took on human form, it didn't take its eyes off her, watching the most minute of changes. A rank 10 soul beast avatar was well-versed in the soul race's secret arts. He could sense that Ling Yushi's soul was gradually being affected Austin's soul imprint. The Nether Monarch, Austin. Xianxia thought to himself as he continued to perceive the energies rolling off Ling Yushi. He was worried about Austin's influence. His soul beast avatar had somehow managed to refine both Austin's memories and soul consciousness through the power of the soul-suppressing orb. But the power of the soul the Nether Monarch had learned over the years, soul hell, wasn't something even the soul-suppressing orb could refine. That power had ultimately become one with Ling Yushi. Wait, that's not right. Austin should be completely dead. I've refined both his memories and consciousness are long gone, and all that's left in him are truths of power. He continued to observe Ling Yushi while frowning deeply. Soul hell. He could sense that a soul whirlpool had appeared inside Ling Yushi's mind. The soul whirlpool looked extremely similar to the 9 soul hell of Nether Realm and was also the technique Austin had displayed earlier. In fact, a strange attraction force that only attracts the soul was slowly appearing from inside the soul whirlpool. When he tried to check it, he discovered that a tiny portion of his soul energy was actually stolen away by it. Surprised, he opened his eyes and stared at Ling Yushi in astonishment. Did you sense it too? Ming Xiao asked suddenly. Just like Xianxia, he had been observing Ling Yushi's every movement from the start. When he observed Ling Yushi with his soul, he noticed the same soul-snatching phenomenon. A new 9 soul hell is forming inside her head. Xianxia sucked in a deep breath before saying seriously, "It's not just our souls either. Ling Yushi's soul looks like it's being pulled into the 9 soul hell as well." Astonished, Ming Xiao said worriedly, "What if this is a ploy by Austin? What if he's playing dead and taking over her bit by bit?" Xianxia's expression changed greatly when he heard that. If that was true, then Austin was still alive and his ability to plot was off the charts. No, it's not him. It's the soul hell itself. Suddenly, the 9 Hells Monarch's voice rang beside their ears. Whoosh! Austin appeared in the form of a high-rank abyss devil right after. He shot a glance at the duo guarding by Ling Yushi's side and explained, "The power my brother and I studied is called the soul hell. In fact, our souls have been trapped by the soul hell for many years." "What do you mean by that?" Xianxia looked at him in astonishment. "My brother and I are abyss devils from the Black Bog Abyss. Neither of us would have become the abyss creator level if we hadn't stumbled upon a great opportunity." Austin hesitated for a moment before clarifying, "That opportunity is the soul hell itself." Xianxia and Ming Xiao exchanged a glance with each other before waiting for Austin to continue. "Soul hell is what my brother and I call it. Everyone else has a different name for that thing. They call it the source of all souls, the treasury of souls, the sea of souls, and more. The Imperial Soul Monarch calls it the Chaos Soul Realm." Austin continued to look back in his memories and said, "It's something that looks just like the soul hell. It's shaped like a whirlpool, and it's constantly discharging all kinds of bizarre soul auras. Once in a while, it'll make an appearance somewhere in the galaxy. It contains all the secrets of the soul. It has secret arts, cultivation methods, knowledge, everything. Just like the Chaos Blood Realm, it's one of the most mysterious existences in the universe. It doesn't seem to exist, so it's impossible to reach it with just the physical body. The Chaos Blood Realm is easier to enter. A person who achieved a breakthrough in the Bloodline and is favored by luck will be able to enter the Chaos Blood Realm and obtain all kinds of secret arts that are related to their bloodline. Many talented people had had the opportunity to visit the Chaos Blood Realm more than once. However, There are very, very few souls who manage to enter the Chaos Soul realm and come alive. As far as I know, the only people to have ever entered and exited that strange place alive are the Imperial Soul Monarch, Castor, my brother, and I. The Imperial Soul Monarch had obtained the power to enslave and control all souls from it. A miraculous power of the soul that gave him instantaneous control over any soul. Castor had obtained the power of dead souls. He could draw power from dead souls and use them for cultivation. My brother and I had learned the soul hell. We are able to draw power from live souls for our own use. Austin paused for a moment to give Qin Lai and Ming Xiao time to digest the new information. Both Qin Lai and Ming Xiao were stunned by this revelation for a long time. This was the first time they heard of such a place in the galaxy. According to Austin, the Chaos Soul Realm was a place where the ultimate secrets of the soul were kept. All the soul power the Imperial Soul Monarch, Castor, and the two brothers had mastered seemed to originate from that place. Just like the Chaos Blood Realm, it was one of the most mysterious places in the entire universe. The existence of Chaos Blood Realms was common knowledge. Countless powerful beings had entered the Chaos Blood Realm that was unique to their race. But the Chaos Soul Realm was different. It sounded like it operated non-stop, and it occasionally vanished for millions of years. No one could find its exact location. There were trillions of races in the entire galaxy, but the number of those who obtained the chance to learn the ultimate secrets of the soul could be counted on one hand. All of them had turned out to be great people in the end. The Imperial Soul Monarch, Abyss Master Castor, Nether Monarch Austin, Nine Hells Monarch Austin. That a soul whirlpool that looks like the soul hell had appeared in the girl's mind proves something. Austin started suddenly. Qin Lai looked confused. He wasn't sure what Austin was trying to say. I didn't know what was going on, and what had happened before. I didn't know if that thing had come to Nine Hells Purgatory. Austin continued to make puzzling statements before finally, he said something that was easy to understand. All I know is that the girl's soul had entered the Chaos Soul Realm. This shape appears only when the soul is slowly entering the Chaos Soul Realm. The same thing had happened to my brother and I back then. From this moment onward, the power of fate Xianxia had applied to her is no longer effective. From the moment it started affecting her, it had wiped clean all of Xianxia's influence. So you don't need to worry about her fate being twisted by Xianxia anymore. You don't need to freeze her in ice either. Her fate is her own from this point onward, and no one will be able to change it. Austin's explanation shocked and refreshed Qin Lai and Ming Xiao's knowledge of the strange wonders that exists in the world. Chaos Soul Realm. This was the first time Qin Lai heard of a place that was even more mysterious than the Chaos Blood Realm. The Abyss Passageway is no longer blocked. From here on, you'll be able to travel between purgatories or leave whenever you wish, Austin added. Most of the foreign Abyss Devils had rushed back to their purgatories after hearing that the dust has settled in Nine Hells Purgatory, and that Castor has awakened from his slumber. They're rushing back to stop Castor's remaining avatars from awakening. He shot Ling Yushir a glance before saying, "You don't need to worry about her. I'll watch over her for as long as she remains in Nine Hells Purgatory. I promise you that she'll remain free from external influence." Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. While Austin was still speaking, Qin Lai noticed that the Abyss Devils up in the sky were gradually leaving Nether City. The Abyss Devils from the Frost Desolation Abyss, such as Dawson, should have heard the news and left already. Their movement had alerted Qin Hao, Qin Shan, and the rest of the human experts immediately. The Flame Emperor and the Ice Emperor also walked out of their cultivation grounds and asked to take their leave. The Ice Emperor, the Flame Emperor, and the Genesis Realm martial practitioners of the G family and Skymender Palace will be returning to Spirit Realm, Qin Hao said after meeting Qin Lai. I'll be visiting the rest of the Abyss Purgatories. Austin shot him a meaningful look before saying, "You're certainly powerful enough to visit any Abyss Purgatory, but please be careful. It would be bad if the Devil Monarchs were to misunderstand your intentions." He knew that Qin Hao was planning to take action against Castor's avatars for the sake of his son. He had witnessed Qin Hao's strength with his own eyes. He knew that Qin Hao was powerful enough to engage any Devil Monarch in a direct fight. I'll send them a message and inform them that we all share the same goal, Austin said. Thank you, Xianxia said. If you don't mind, I'd like to stay in Nether City for a bit longer, Ming Xiao asked politely. Austin nodded and gave his permission. Do as you wish. He was the devil monarch of 9 Hells Purgatory, and Ming Xiao was Austin's descendant. So technically, Ming Xiao was his junior. The blood tie they shared was the only reason he granted Ming Xiao, a foreign rank 10 Abyss Devil, permission to stay at 9 Hells Purgatory for an extended period of time. Normally, this would be against the laws of the Abyss. If possible, you should minimize your Soul Beast avatar's activity in the Abyss Purgatories. Qin Lai. Austin pondered for a moment before continuing. The Abyss Devils of the Purgatories don't share a good relationship with the Soul Race. 9 Hells Purgatory doesn't mind your presence. But the same cannot be said for other purgatories. I see. Qin Lai nodded thoughtfully while replying. He knew that most of the major incidents in the Abyss Purgatories had something to do with the Imperial Soul Monarch. That was why the great lords of the 8 purgatories hated the Soul Race more than the Spirit Race and the God Race. If they were to learn that his avatar was a Soul Race clansman, it would probably land him in a lot of criticisms. I will leave, he stated his intention clearly. I'm the 9 Hells Monarch. I permit you to travel in and out of 9 Hells Purgatory as you wish. However, you should avoid the rest of the 8 purgatories for now. They'll only listen to you after the Flaming Sun Abyss has fully transformed into a purgatory, Austin said. Got it. Somewhere in the universe. Qin Lai's Blood Soul Beast avatar was leading Gudas, Batty, Kuan Luo, Shinda, and Tia across the dark vacuum of space. A couple of desolate, barren asteroids were scattered beside the Blood Soul Beast avatar. They didn't reflect even a bit of light. The Blood Soul Beast had been away from Spirit Realm for a very long time. When he had lost contact with his main body, the 2 avatars learned that there were only 2 places his main body could be trapped in: the 8 purgatories or the Dark Shadow World. His Dark Soul Beast avatar had gone to Nether Realm in hopes of traveling to 9 Hells Purgatory through the 9 Soul Hell. His Blood Soul Beast avatar had left with its 5 Night Ghost Soul Servants through the spatial whirlpool they had used to come in before in search for an entrance to the Dark Shadow World. Later on, after his main body had obtained the Galaxy Mirror, the Blood Soul Beast avatar was able to re-establish his connection with his main body and learn that the latter was trapped in Yellow Springs Purgatory. The Dark Soul Beast avatar had led Dawson and a dozen or so great lords of the Abyss to 9 Hells Purgatory, while his main body focused on absorbing Yellow Springs Purgatory and becoming the Devil Monarch of Flaming Sun Purgatory. However, the Blood Soul Beast avatar hadn't turned around and returned to Spirit Realm. It was because the Blood Soul Beast avatar had spent a long time traveling across the universe. His experience gave Qin Lai much knowledge and insight to the vast and mysterious universe around him. That was why he decided to keep his Blood Soul Beast avatar on exploration duty. Master, where should we go now that we're no longer searching for the Dark Shadow World? Gudas suddenly asked a question from atop a cold, brown-colored asteroid. His eyeballs were glowing brightly. Gudas was a Bone Race clansman, but he was exiled from his race for committing a grave crime. He joined the Night Ghosts to survive amid the stars. I have no goals in mind for now, the Blood Soul Beast avatar replied indifferently. We've entered the Bone Race's territory. The stars and realms ahead of us all belong to the Bone Race. Gudas clearly looked anxious. It won't be long before we run into the Bone Race, and my reputation there is pretty bad. I'm worried that I'll land you in trouble if they recognize me, Master. The Bone Race. The Blood Soul Beast avatar looked surprised. Sala's image suddenly appeared in his mind. Sala had stayed at the Frost Desolation Abyss for a long time, studying the corpse refinement art with Miao Fengtian. Miao Fengtian had achieved huge breakthroughs in his art thanks to him. Qin Lai had good impression of Sala. He wasn't expecting to get close to the Bone Race's territory while he was traveling aimlessly. Due to his 5 soul servants, his knowledge on universe's secrets and his insight to the Bone Race, the Winged Race, and the Earth Demon Race had improved a little. He knew that the Bone Race was only inferior to the 4 transcendent bloodline races in the entire galaxy. The bone race also shares a terrible relationship with the soul race, and right now you're a soul race clansman. Gudas continued. The bone race shares a bad relationship with the soul race? Why's that? Qianlai asked curiously. The bone race used to serve Lord Castor, and they killed many soul race clansmen and dealt them a severe blow in the past, Gudas explained. Castor. Surprised, Qianlai ordered. Tell me everything you know in detail. His blood-soul beast avatar slowly shrank in size until he was in human form. I'll be quicker if I share my memory directly, Gudas said. Whoosh! A soul thought passed through the network and entered the soul tree immediately. Gudas' memory suddenly became a part of Qianlai. He immediately became privy to the conflict between the bone race and the soul race, and the shameful past of the bone race. There was another reason why Castor had sought out the bone race as an ally, one more important than the fact that they could create corpse demons from dead bodies without expending any of the souls he needed. The bone race was naturally powerful against the soul race. A soul race clansman was well versed in the secret arts of the soul. They were especially good at invading another being's soul and transforming them into their soul servants. However, the corpse demons had no souls. Since the corpse demons were soulless, they were immune to the soul race's attacks. The only thing the soul race had that could threaten the corpse demons was their flesh and blood puppet. A long time ago, Castor had commanded to bone race to launch an attack against the soul race using the corpse demons as frontliners. The soul race was shockingly powerless against a soulless army of corpses. The soul race's secret arts such as soul burial and their spirit artifacts only worked against a being of soul. This meant that most of the skills that made their race famous were useless against the corpse demons. Forced to fight the corpse demons with only their flesh and blood puppets, they had suffered huge casualties as a result. That was how Castor and the bone race had given the soul race a hard time. After Castor was eliminated and sealed away, the soul race had pushed very hard for the extermination of the bone race. The bone race only managed to survive because the god race and the spirit race believed that they were a legitimate threat to the soul race and refrained from killing them. But the soul race had never stopped attacking the bone race for the past million years. The bone race also thought of the soul race as their biggest enemy even after they had regained their strength. The situation hadn't changed to this day. Qianlai's blood-soul beast avatar was clearly a powerful soul race clansman. He would be in deep trouble if he appeared in the bone race's territory recklessly and was discovered. And this was without accounting for Gudas, a bone race clansman who had been permanently exiled from the bone race. It was no wonder that Gudas was as afraid as he was. I see. Qianlai muttered to himself thoughtfully after obtaining Gudas' memory and learning about the past of the bone race and the soul race. Gudas begged him. Let's leave while we still can, master. There's no hurry. Qianlai shook his head and looked at the distant stars. Knowing that they all belonged to the bone race, he started planning his next move. I can feel a warship of the bone race approaching us right now, Gudas said bitterly. Oh? How do you know that? Qianlai asked curiously. I'm a bone race clansman after all. Well, this is perfect. Qianlai didn't look bothered in the slightest. I was hoping to meet Sala anyway. Sala? You know Sala? Gudas seemed slightly surprised by this. Of course. While they were conversing with each other, Qianlai suddenly directed his gaze in a particular direction. Even after he had assumed human form, his eyes were still bluish-green in color. A giant starship made of bones and deathly aura slowly entered their view. Highly intelligent races such as the God race and the Spirit race normally traveled the stars using unique giant starships. These giant starships ensured that their Bloodline warriors could study the power of Bloodline without being affected by the occasional wash of energy that came from their surroundings. Most of these starships possessed incredible offensive power as well. It was both the symbol of the strength of a race and a powerful offensive weapon. Bone warships were the bone race's trademark. It only took a single glance to identify that these peculiar warships belonged to the bone race. That bone warship is coming our way, Gudas cried. The bloodline energy in the other four soul servants quickened visibly when the bone warship came into view. Everyone was prepared to battle. At ease, Qianlai said while waving a hand. Master, The bone race will still recognize you instantly even if you're in human form right now. There's no changing the fact that you're overflowing with the aura of the soul race. Gudas reminded him. I know. Qianlai replied indifferently before motioning Gudas to cut his chatter short. He calmly waited for the bone warship to close in on them before adding at the last moment. You guys can stay here and wait. I'll head over myself. After that, he flew away from the brown asteroid, headed straight for the bone warship. Soul race. A rank 10 soul race clansman. I also sense a clansman nearby. The surprised cries of a couple of bone race clansmen reached him while he was approaching the bone warship. Soon, many sparkling and short skeletal beings appeared on the bone warship. Please tell Sala that Qianlai wishes to meet him in person. Qianlai shouted at them from afar. Sala? How do you know Sala? A bone race clansman shouted in return. Qianlai. One of the older bone race clansmen on the warship seemed to know this name. He thought to himself for a moment before ordering. None of you make a move until I return. I'm going to speak with Sala for a bit. Elder. There's no way that guy actually knows Sala. He must be talking nonsense. A bone race clansman yelled. Shut up. The elder shot the person a look before pulling out a bell that looked like the corpse summoning bell. Then he tried contacting Sala. Not far away from the point of contact, the bone world. Next to the bone burying grounds and the clan elders. A jolt suddenly ran through Sala before he said, Qianlai has arrived. How is that possible? I thought he's at the purgatory right now. Brito asked curiously. It's probably one of his soul race avatars, Sala explained. That guy's a mixed blood between the human race and the god race, but he also has soul race avatars. You all know Kadak, right? Kadak? He's a powerful general serving under the soul race's crown prince, right? Brito replied. Kadak had perished in spirit realm, and Qianlai had refined his subsoul into one of his many avatars, Sala said. He could refine a soul race clansman into his avatar? How? Brito was shocked to hear this. Should I tell the men to bring him over? Sala requested. Sure. I'll ask your father to return immediately in the meantime, Brito replied. The bone race patriarch Lartigau had just left the bone-burying grounds not long ago. He had ordered Sala to visit the Frost Desolation Abyss as soon as possible and meet up with Qianlai. He wanted to know what was going on in the Abyss Purgatories. Neither Sala nor Brito had expected Qianlai's avatar to show up in their territory without warning, let alone make a request to meet him. I think Gudas is with him as well, Sala added. Gudas? Brito let out a snort before saying, That guy is nothing compared to the future of our race. Understood. Qianlai, Gudas. By Lord Brito's orders, you are both permitted to follow us to the bone world. The old bone race clansman on the bone warship made a welcoming gesture after asking for instructions. Master, Not only was Gudas not happy by his unexpected invitation, he looked extremely worried. Don't worry, they probably don't mean harm, Qianlai consoled. Well, all right. Gudas agreed to follow Qianlai in the end. Please, the old bone race clansman motioned for Qianlai and Gudas to get on the warship. The rest of you will wait here for us to return. I'll come and get you after I've met with Sala. Qianlai instructed the remaining 4 soul servants. Understood. Kuan Luo and the others answered respectfully. Let's go. Qianlai jumped off the asteroid and flew towards the bone race's bone warship. Gudas followed closely behind. Master, wait! Suddenly, the three-eyed baddie suddenly shouted in surprise and worry. Qianlai and Gudas immediately stopped midair. Instead of looking at baddie, Qianlai kept a close eye on the bone race clansman on the warship and asked, What have you discovered, baddie? Baddie was from the three-eyed race. In some cases, baddie's senses were even sharper than Qianlai's. His exploration of the galaxy didn't always go smoothly, and baddie was the one who gave him very good suggestions and warned him of incoming threats before he even noticed them. He had complete trust in baddie because the latter's soul had been marked with his soul imprint. If he wanted to, he could destroy baddie's soul anytime he wished. Moreover, baddie and all of Qianlai's soul servants would die if anything were to happen to him. Naturally, Qin Lai had no reason to believe that Batty would betray him while he was still his sole servant. Batty's cry had made him doubt the Bone Race clansman's intentions immediately. He thought that Batty had discovered a ploy, and that these Bone Race clansmen were planning to trick him. "What's going on?" The old man shot Batty a cold look before saying, "You're in our territory right now. Do you really think you can escape if we truly wish you harm? There's no need for us to play such tricks." "I'm not talking about you." Batty inhaled deeply before explaining. "I sense Mo Luo's presence nearby." Mo Luo. Guda's expression changed as some urgency entered his voice. "How is that possible? Why would Mo Luo be nearby?" "Who's that?" Qin Lai asked with a frown. "Mo Luo is a three-eyed race clansman like me. He's also a member of the Night Ghosts." Batty's expression grew more and more serious as he shot the Bone Race old man on the warship a glance before continuing. "The fact that Mo Luo is nearby means that there are Night Ghosts experts operating nearby. In fact, I heard that Mo Luo was plotting something big at the Bone Race's territory after receiving a secret order from our leaders, just before we invaded Spirit Realm. If I'm not mistaken, Mo Luo isn't the only one who's shown up. Our leader is probably somewhere around the area as well. Sarto, you'd inform Lord Brito about this if you know what's best for you." Gudas shouted at the Bone Race old man. Gudas was a rank 10 Bone Race clansman, so it was logical that he would know the experts of the Bone Race. He knew that the old man's name was Sarto, and that he was an elder of the Bone Race. "Got it." Realizing that the situation was serious, the Bone Race old man tensed up as well. "Master, the Night Ghosts had operated in our territory before, and they were dealt a severe blow because of it." Gudas was referring to the Bone Race when he said, "Our territory." The Night Ghosts would never dare to cause trouble on the God Race, the Spirit Race, and the Soul Race's territories, but the same cannot be said for the Bone Race, the Winged Race, and the Earth Demon Race. However, the Night Ghosts suffered huge casualties that one time, so they might be plotting a revenge or something else. Whatever it might be, I'm sure they're here. I trust in Batty's judgment." Qin Lai nodded slowly and said, "I'm sure the Bone Race will be able to deal with the Night Ghosts easily." "I hope so," Gudas replied. Bang! It was at this moment Sarto's spirit artifact, the one that looked like the corpse summoning bell, suddenly exploded without warning. Crack, crack! The exploding fragments of the spirit artifact cut Sarto pretty badly. The Bone Race clansmen beside him were caught in the blast as well. A lot of them were severely injured by the flying fragments. I didn't think that Lord Gudas would repeat his betrayal on the Night Ghosts. The icy voice of a Bone Race clansman had come from the Bone Warship. A rank 9 Bone Race clansman about 1.5 meters tall suddenly left the warship while his kin was screaming in confusion. After putting some distance between himself and Qin Lai's group, he said, "Lord Batty, why did you and your group betray the Night Ghosts despite holding a high post? The leader wouldn't punish you even if your invasion of Spirit Realm did fail. Why did you betray us?" The small Bone Race clansman questioned Batty coldly after moving away from Qin Lai and Gudas. Obviously, this Bone Race clansman was a member of the Night Ghosts. He might have been waiting for his allies to arrive so he could attack his kin safely. However, he didn't expect to run into Qin Lai and 5 important members of the Night Ghosts before meeting up with his allies. He definitely didn't expect the 5 great experts of his organization to betray them not long after they went to Spirit Realm. Lord Mo Luo is about to arrive. I'm sure he'll be interested to learn all the details of your invasion of Spirit Realm. The rank 9 Bone Race clansmen sneered at them. "Who are you?" Gudas shouted angrily. "Heh, I'm a recent addition to the Night Ghosts. Originally, the leader was planning to add me as your subordinate after you'd returned from Spirit Realm," the Bone Race clansman said in a mocking voice. "What an unfortunate situation this is. I'd always thought of you as my idol, you know. The reason I decided to betray my own race is because of you, my lord. I was chasing after your footsteps, so I can't imagine what had possessed you to make such an unwise decision. I thought you were doing pretty well in the Night Ghosts. That being said, this isn't necessarily a bad outcome. Since you've decided to leave the Night Ghosts, there's a chance I'll become the most respected bone race clansman in the organization instead. The bodies you've been collecting will become mine, because I'm the only one left who can make use of them. Hee. Looks like today is my lucky day. The bone race clansman who had bared his fangs against his own people kept mocking Guddas while making a retreat. Finally, it looked like he had gone far away enough from Qianlai and the bone worship. Trucy, your family is one of the oldest families in the bone race. You dare betray your own? Sardo glared hatefully at the rank 9 bone race clansman before asking, "How dare you? Is this your own plan? Or your family's decision?" He sensed great danger from this betrayal. He knew that the family behind the rank 9 Trucy was extremely powerful. They were one of the oldest families of the bone race. He had never heard of the bone race being unfair to Trucy. He had never heard of any wrongdoing from Trucy that demanded the bone race to purge him either. That was why he couldn't understand why Trucy had betrayed the bone race. He had no choice but to suspect that Trucy's family was the one behind his betrayal. This meant that something big was about to happen to the bone race very soon. Lord Sarto, you'll gradually understand the truth very soon. For now, it's not my place to reveal anything to you, Trucy said coldly. Sarto's heart sank when he heard Trucy's explanation. He suddenly realized that the situation was even more complicated than he had initially thought. Whoosh! A dark red asteroid slipped between the gaps of the asteroids and rapidly approached Qianlai's position. What happened to you in Spirit Realm, baddie? The leader had always treated you well, and you and I have left the three-eyed race together. Shouldn't you at least inform me about your decision before you commit yourself to such an important decision? A regretful voice came from the dark red asteroid. Mo Luo, Baddie said in a bitter tone. Boom! The bone race's warship abruptly exploded when the three-eyed Mo Luo spoke. Qianlai noticed that the lifeless asteroids from nearby were moving slowly, as if they were attracted by some sort of force. Get moving! We'll return to the bone world first. Sarto barked out the order immediately when he saw that the situation was bad. Even Qianlai and Guddas had fallen under his suspicion after Trucy's betrayal and the sudden arrival of the night ghost, Mo Luo. He viewed everything as an effort to invade the bone race. The corpse summoning bell had exploded, and he and a lot of bone race clansmen were hurt by the explosion. He realized that he might not be able to transmit the news in time. That was why he ordered his people to leave this place as quickly as possible. The moment he sent out his order, the bone race clansmen immediately tried to regain control of their warship and turn back to the bone world. It was at this moment the asteroids suddenly moved faster. Bang bang! The asteroids rammed into the warship and punctured giant holes in its body. All low-rank bone race clansmen who were caught by the impact were shattered into bits. They all died a horrible death. Trucy, Mo Luo. Sardo's pupils burned with fury as he watched his warship come apart and his clansmen being crushed. His furious gaze was directed onto Qianlai and Guddas as well. He obviously thought that Qianlai was an enemy as well. He thought that Qianlai and Mo Luo were on the same side, and that everything he did earlier was just to confuse and delay him. This has nothing to do with me. Qianlai frowned at his gaze and defended himself seriously. Whoosh! The dark red asteroid finally reached them and stopped just before the crumbling warship. A skinny three-eyed old man just like Batty stood tall on the asteroid. The green glow in his third eye gave him the impression of a venomous snake. He didn't look at Qianlai or bother with the screaming Sarto. He seemed to think that Sarto was dead for sure. He simply looked at Batty and lamented loudly. Have you forgotten about our promise, Batty? We swore in the oldest language that we would return to the three-eyed race one day. The galaxy may be huge, but there are only so many places that would accept us. Our leader had accepted us during our darkest time of need, and we both owe him a huge favor. No matter what had happened to you in Spirit Realm, you shouldn't have betrayed the night ghosts and the leader. Please return to us while you still can. Don't worry. I'll ask the leader to show you mercy. Everything will stay the same just like before. You and I may not be real brothers, but we both share the same ideals and goals. I want us to keep fighting alongside each other. He was trying to persuade Batty into returning to the night ghosts. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. More asteroids entered the battlefield while he was talking to Batty. They were all crawling with Night Ghost's experts. The group consisted of experts from various races. There were Earth Demon race, Winged race, Dragon Lion race, and other smaller races. They had Qin Lai, the crumbling warship, Gudas, Kuan Luo, and everyone else completely surrounded. Qin Lai calculated indifferently with his soul perception. That makes the 7th rank 10 Bloodline expert. Did the Night Ghosts bring all of their experts over? According to his knowledge, the Night Ghosts weren't all that powerful. They should have at most a dozen or so rank 10 experts, including his soul servants. There were 7 rank 10 experts currently present in the scene. If he were to include his soul servants into the count, this was practically the entire force of the Night Ghosts. The leader was the only one who hadn't shown up yet. Lord Mo Luo, I don't think Lord Batty will be able to do that. Trucy slowly moved back closer after the Night Ghost experts had reached the scene. He pointed a bony finger at Qin Lai before saying, "That is a rank 10 soul race clansman. I heard Gudas and Lord Batty calling him their master just now." The soul race. The three-eyed Mo Luo immediately trained his third eye onto Qin Lai after hearing this. A cold chill flew out of his pupils and stabbed towards Qin Lai like a corrosive spear. Heh! Qin Lai sneered at him before using a soul race secret art. His bluish-green pupils danced like ghost fire. Sizz! Green light and dark blue lightning clashed against one another fiercely just before Qin Lai's eyes. He is a soul race clansman. Mo Luo immediately withdrew his bloodline power after confirming Qin Lai's identity. Batty, did all of you become his soul servants? Batty finally gave Mo Luo a bitter nod. If he were to be honest with himself, he didn't want to be a soul servant either. He wanted to be free just like Mo Luo, and he hadn't forgotten about their ideals. Unfortunately, from the moment Qin Lai had imprinted his soul, he was no longer in control of himself. If he dared to resist, Qin Lai could eliminate him with a single thought. He had to obey Qin Lai if he wished to survive, whether he liked it or not. "I see now," Mo Luo said in realization. Whoosh whoosh, the asteroids continued to fly towards the warship. They were all crawling with Night Ghost experts. "Return to the Bone World," Sarto shouted loudly. Unfortunately, experts of the Night Ghosts piloting the asteroids were all rank 9 Bloodline warriors. They heartlessly began their slaughter of the Bone Race clansmen. Sarto wasn't a combat mission. His original goal was to bring the news of Castor's return to some of the elders of the Bone Race. Moreover, they were in their own territory, so he hadn't bothered to bring any powerful corpse demons. As a result, his combat strength was greatly diminished. There was nothing he could do against the Night Ghosts, a rank 10 Earth Demon race clansman and a Dragon Lion race clansman. All he could do was watch his clansmen die. "Relax. My clansmen don't frequent this area." And the spirit artifact Sarto used for communication just exploded. "No one will discover this in a short while." The Bone Race clansman called Trucy urged the Night Ghosts experts to slaughter his people to their heart's content. "Lord Mo Luo, feel free to attack Qin Lai as you wish. If he dies, I guarantee that Lord Batty will be freed from his soul shackles." Trucy suddenly changed the subject and said, "However, I can only promise this for Lord Batty alone. I cannot promise the same for Lord Gudas and the other 3. Is that true?" Mo Luo said excitedly. "Of course," Trucy said with a nod. "All right." The three-eyed Mo Luo suddenly relaxed. For some reason, he seemed unbelievably trusting of the rank 9 Bone Race clansman called Trucy. It looked like he really believed Trucy would have a way of clearing the soul imprint in Batty's soul after Qin Lai was killed. Batty was a member of the three-eyed race, and Mo Luo only cared about him. He didn't care if Gudas and the others lived or died. Trucy's promise had invigorated him. He waved his hand and ordered calmly, "Kill them all!" The other 4 Night Ghosts rushed Gudas, Kuan Luo, Xinda, and Tia immediately after hearing that order. Trucy of the Bone Race chuckled at Qin Lai while his eyes glowed dark green. He said, "Of all the places you could to be, you chose the Bone Race's galaxy." Boom! Bloodline power suddenly surged from the short Mo Luo. His third eye instantly glowed bright. An invisible power suddenly wrapped around Qin Lai, causing him to activate his own bloodline power. Qin Lai's bloodline energy swelled uncontrollably. He immediately returned to his blood-soul beast form. Sparks kept flying out of his bluish-green pupils. Trucy. Qin Lai shot Luo a cold look before staring at the rank 9 bone race clansman. For some reason, he sensed something familiar from that Trucy. It was almost as if he had come into contact with that Trucy before. However, he couldn't remember when he had interacted with this bone race clansman no matter how he tried. The only bone race clansman he knew was Sala. Master? Gudas called out to Qin Lai softly as he stared at his former comrades. He wanted to know if Qin Lai was planning to stay behind and fight, or do their best to escape this place just like Sarto. He wanted to know his intentions. We fight! Qin Lai transmitted his will to his soul servants through their soul connection without looking back at Gudas. Gudas immediately activated his bloodline power. Wisps of gray-white deathly energy flowed out of his skeleton. He was a bone race clansman, but he was different from Trucy. He might have been exiled by his own race, but he didn't really hate them all that much. The night ghosts were clearly planning to attack the bone race, and he was no longer a part of them since the moment he became Qin Lai's soul servant. Qin Lai also shared a good relationship with Sala. If he could help Sarto and the bone race survive this crisis with Qin Lai's help, he might yet have a shot at returning to his race. Gudas was immediately filled with killing intent when he thought until this point. Are you really not on their side? At first, Sarto thought that Qin Lai was in cahoots with the night ghosts. However, the night ghosts were obviously attacking them. This made him wonder if he had made a mistake. I'm not like Trucy. I tried my best to not harm my kin, even when I was still a member of the night ghosts. Gudas yelled. Gudas wrapped his death energy around an earth demon race warrior while he was still speaking. The warrior started losing life force rapidly the moment he was entangled. Sarto shot Gudas a doubtful glance, but the latter didn't look like he was pretending at all. Eventually, he decided to believe in Qin Lai and Gudas. This is our territory. Have the night ghosts forgotten how many bodies they left behind during their last excursion? After realizing that Qin Lai really was an ally, he calmed down and measured both sides' strength. Suddenly, he was no longer in a hurry to leave. Crack, crack. Crack, crack. A large number of low-rank bone race clansmen were being killed by the night ghosts all around him. Their skeletons were falling apart. Death energy. Fever. Enhanced skeleton. Colorful energy circulated around Sarto's skeleton as he executed 2 unique bloodline abilities in a row. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A great amount of death energy turned into cold white mist and enveloped all the nearby bone race clansmen. When the mist touched the low-rank bone race clansmen, their bones creaked loudly and grew stronger. The fear in their eyes was also replaced with bloodthirst and violence when Sarto's fever bloodline ability overcame them. Suddenly, the retreating bone race clansmen did a 180 degrees turn. We fight to the death, Sarto shouted. We fight to the death. All surviving bone race clansmen echoed his cry in spirit. Crack, crack, crack. The broken bones of the killed bone race clansmen suddenly moved closer to each other as if they had been gifted the mysterious power of death. The sharp, translucent bones seemed to gain a life and intelligence of their own as they stabbed towards nearby night ghosts experts like lightning. Pooh! Pooh pu! Not knowing the bone race's strange abilities, a night ghost expert was pierced by the moving bones. Watch out! Everyone watch out! Do not let your guard down even you kill a bone race clansman. They can still kill you as long as their bones aren't ground down to dust. Watch out! The veteran experts of the night ghosts shouted at the new additions to be careful. They were aware that every bone in a bone race clansman could be used as a weapon through a bloodline ability. The reason they hadn't bothered warning anyone earlier because the bone race clansmen were focused on running away. But after Sarto realized that Qin Lai was an ally, he had cancelled his previous decision immediately and stood his ground. Now that the bone race clansmen were all determined to fight, and after they were enhanced by Sarto's bloodline ability, they had regained their normal fighting strength. Batty? Instead of looking at the bone race, Qin Lai suddenly addressed his soul servant. Mo Luo's persuasion and Trucy's promise had given the soul servant Batty new hope. Batty was obviously hesitating even as the rest of the soul servants were fighting against their former comrades. It was obvious that Mo Luo and Trucy's words had caused Batty to become very conflicted. Master, Batty glanced back and forth between Mo Luo and Trucy. He couldn't come to a decision. I'm serious when I say I can protect your life, Trucy said confidently. My brother, we'll return to the three-eyed race and fulfill our promise just like before. Mo Luo also said sincerely. Batty grew more and more shaken as a result. Your mind is faltering. You are useless to me the way you are now. No, you may even turn out to be a threat. Qin Lai said indifferently. In that case, I may as well see how that tiny bone race clansman is going to protect you. No, master, Batty screamed. In that moment, he knew that Qin Lai had decided to cut him loose and kill him. Zzzt. Batty's pupils suddenly burned with bluish-green fire as he screamed. It looked like Batty's soul was burning. Trucy, Mo Luo yelled. Heh! The eyes of the rank 9 bone race clansman suddenly turned from dark green to bluish-green. The strange aura his eyes exuded was exactly the same as Qin Lai's blood soul beast. Bang! Bluish-green soul imprints suddenly leaped out of Trucy's smooth scalp and landed on Batty's body like clouds. At first glance, it was as if the thin Batty was wearing a colorful suit. Countless soul race characters were flowing inside the bluish-green soul imprint. They continuously disrupted the soul imprint Qin Lai had applied in Batty's mind. Qin Lai could feel that the soul energy inside Batty's soul imprint fading rapidly. His connection with Batty was also being severed off bit by bit. The soul race. He stared coldly at the bone race clansman whose eye color had just changed, and executed a soul race secret art. He finally realized that this Trucy was possessed by a soul race clansman. His rank 9 power was just a front. Realization flashed across Qin Lai's head as he shouted, Thamer! You weren't expecting me, were you, Qin Lai? We meet again. Trucy's voice slowly turned cold. You'd taken what was mine in the origin world, or I would have become the creator of the Flaming Sun Abyss, or even a devil monarch. It was you who killed my subsoul, destroyed my plans, and caused my main soul to suffer huge damage. So it's you. Trucy's words revealed why the night ghost had felt familiar earlier. It was an old acquaintance, Thamer. In the origin world, Thamer worked together with Octon. By sending the youth after Indigo, he tried to sow discord between Digga's Abyss Devils and the God Race group. For a long time, Thamer had control of the situation and played with all the geniuses who had entered in the palm of his hand. But later on, he learned that it was just Thamer's subsoul that had entered the origin world. At the time, he knew he would see Thamer one day, but he hadn't expected it would be in such random circumstances. Qin Lai, you took everything that should have been mine. Thamer's green eyes flashed with toxic jealousy. If not for you, I would have obtained everything I wanted in the origin world. If not for you, Indigo would have died, and Octon and the Sartorius family would have become the best chief candidate of the spirit race. And I would have become the new devil monarch of the 8 purgatories. Every one of his words was filled with hatred. Another soul race clansman, Batty, who had been hesitating before, gradually understood when he saw Thamer's soul mark was gradually dissolving Qin Lai's soul mark. He finally believed in Mo Luo's promise. Whoosh! He, who had been standing next to Qin Lai, used his bloodline power to fly to the side. Apologies. If I can recover my freedom, who would want to become a soul servant? Batty felt that Qin Lai's soul influence was growing weaker and snarled, Master, will you blame me? Batty, if we can complete the orders of the leader in the bone race, we can return to the three-eyed race, Mo Luo said. As he spoke, he used their race's bloodline art to tell Batty his intentions. He could see that Batty was actively resisting the soul imprint. With Thamer's help, Qin Lai's influence was slowly weakening. He grew more confident about Batty's release. He also noticed that as Batty broke free, Kuan Luo, Shinda, and Tia were growing less focused as they fought. Xinda and Kuan-Luo were members of the Earth Demon race. Tia was from the Winged race. None of them were locals. Only Gudas of the Bone race had no other thoughts and was fighting for Qin Lai with all his power. Kuan-Luo, Xinda, and Tia peeked at Thamer as they saw Batty break free of Qin Lai's soul imprisonment. They looked as if they would betray Qin Lai. The second Thamer showed success with Batty. They had not been soul slaves for a long time, so the imprints on their soul hadn't had enough time to deepen their influence. Obviously, they would have thoughts of rebellion. Azura race soul slaves such as Curtis had followed Qin Lai's dark soul beast avatar for thousands of years. The influence of the mark on their souls had slowly changed their consciousness. This meant that Curtis would be loyal to Qin Lai, and it was nearly impossible for him to have an idea of betrayal, no matter the temptation. The unique soul race imprint would deepen its influence as time passed. Later on, those soul slaves would forever be loyal to their owners and never have a thought of betrayal. But Batty and the others had not been soul slaves for long. The soul marks in them hadn't been able to influence their thoughts. So when they saw a chance to break free, they immediately became disloyal. Master, those three have other thoughts. Gudas of the Bone race noticed the change in Kuan-Luo, Xinda, and Tia's expression. He guessed their thoughts. He shouted out a warning. At this time, Qin Lai also felt the situation was troublesome. Batty, Xinda, Kuan-Luo, and Tia were all rank 10 bloodline experts. If they were loyal, he would have some confidence in this battle. If all four betrayed him, and only Gudas was loyal, the threat they faced would multiply. I must make an example. He, who had desired to attack Thamer and Mo-Luo, immediately changed his target to Batty. He felt that there was still a weak relationship between him and Batty. Thamer's soul secret art had not completely erased the mark he had branded Batty's soul with. He still had a chance to kill Batty. The blood soul beast's enormous body suddenly turned and looked coldly at Batty. Batty felt a slight hint of timidness under his gaze but quickly calmed down. He said with a smile, "Master, this feeling of everything losing control, do you feel powerless?" "You have not completely broken free," Qin Lai said coldly. A hint of death concept appeared in the green eyes of the blood soul beast. Using the connection between the subsoul and the main soul, he attempted to use a bit of Castor's power of dead souls. Because of the dead bone race clansmen around, power of dead souls was aplenty in the area. He could feel that his main body in Flaming Sun Purgatory was comprehending Castor's dead souls concept at this time. The two souls were connected. His subsoul could also use the truths the main body had comprehended. Through the understanding of the main soul, he attempted to gather the remains of the shattered dead souls of the Bone Race clansmen with his rank 10 soul line. Many soul shadows invisible to the naked eye suddenly flew towards the blood soul beast as his subsoul called. At this time, there was still a weak soul connection between the blood soul beast and Batty. That invisible and intangible line between him and Batty had not been snapped. "Go!" His thoughts moved. Those invisible dead souls immediately entered Batty's head through the connection. SSSSSS. Batty's third eye suddenly gave off a wave of flames as though it had been ignited. The presence of dead souls came out of those flames. "No! No!" Batty, who had been snarling, found that his soul was being set ablaze by Qin Lai's almost erased soul mark. Thamer suddenly found his soul presence he had been treating Batty with being blocked from entering Batty's soul. By a rare kind of dead soul's presence. Whoosh whoosh. Batty's other two eyes gave off green ghost fire. His soul gradually went out like an oil lamp with no oil. "Did you really think you could protect him?" Qin Lai looked disdainfully at Thamer. "Thamer, you promised me," Mo-Luo shouted angrily. Xinda, Kuan-Luo, and Tia saw the rebel Batty die under Thamer's protection. They seemed to have had a bucket of cold water poured over them, their eyes regaining their focus. They did not want to become the next Batty. Dead souls presence. Thamer looked dazedly at Batty, who gradually grew silent and appeared disbelieving. "Thamer, why did this happen?" The three-eyed race clansman Mo-Luo was concerned with Batty's survival. Seeing Batty die, he put the blame on Thamer. The soul mark from Qin Lai burned in Batty's mind and turned Batty's soul into ash. The soul energy that Thamer had put onto Batty's body was being suppressed by the dead soul's power, unable to affect the imprint. Batty, who attempted to break out of Qin Lai's control, was completely silent. No one could feel a shred of Batty's presence. Kuan Luo, Shinda, and Tia had originally wanted to follow Batty and break free of Qin Lai's control, but they quieted down after Batty's death. They immediately displayed their full power to help Qin Lai against their old friends from Night Ghosts. Mo Luo couldn't even protect Batty. How could he protect them? Rather than being destroyed, they could fight for Qin Lai as soul servants. At least then they would live on. All right. Sarto of the Bone Race grew excited when he saw Batty be killed by Qin Lai with a wave of his hand. Bloodline ability. Death sacrifice. Sarto looked coldly at Batty and then used his bloodline secret art. A wave of deathly power rose from Batty's already dead body. The thick dead power turned into a gray ray that flew toward Thamer. At the same time, unusual light flashed in Batty, who had lost his life. He struggled to move as he leapt towards Mo Luo. He seemed to have been taken control of by Sarto's power of death in this instant. As a member of the Bone Race and an expert of rank 10 bloodline, Sarto had a variety of arts revolving around death. He could temporarily control beings that had just died with his bloodline secret arts. Of course, because the beings that just died were not refined by the Bone Race's secret art, they were not true corpse demons and could not use the full extent of their power. But Batty was a member of the Three-Eyed Race and the best friend of Mo Luo. He had encountered misfortune because he listened to his friend, causing the latter to feel enormous guilt. Seeing Batty, who had just died, suddenly appear to come alive and charge at him, Mo Luo felt a hint of panic. He did not immediately attack, but unconsciously retreated. Just a body without a soul. A corpse that isn't even a corpse demon, you fear him? Thamer, who had possessed Trucy, knew the secret arts of the Bone Race. He knew the power that Batty could display were limited now and couldn't threaten Mo Luo. Batty was only good as a fright. Break! Thamer's eyes stared at the dead Batty as he also used a secret art of the Bone Race. Threads of phosphorus fire suddenly lit up on Batty's body. The fire seemed to come from inside Batty and seemed to be aimed at his body itself. Boom! Batty's corpse suddenly exploded, and the short, three-eyed race body turned into pieces. You face Qin Lai. Thamer ordered Mo Luo imperiously as he slowly retreated. Secret bloodline art. As he muttered, he started to use the Bone Race's secret arts and the Bone Race bloodline of Trucy's body to disrupt the death power. The death power that Sarto had pulled out of Batty and hurled towards him suddenly paused when it was about to hit him. Ha ha! Thamer laughed and grabbed the death power. He looked at Sarto. The Soul Race is capable of using the vessel's bloodline and secret arts after possession. This body used to belong to a clansman of your Bone Race. And yet you attempt to use this low-level death power taken from a dead corpse to try to kill me. Aren't you underestimating me? Boom! As Thamer spoke, the experts of the Night Ghosts attacking Sarto used Earth Demon Race secret arts to move huge meteoroids by changing gravity. Sarto had expended a great amount of bloodline power after using the Bone Race secret art. After being hit with 2 meteors, he fell among the Bone Race clansmen. At this time, Qin Lai frowned again and once again felt Castor's dead soul's power that the main soul comprehended. Whoosh! A piece of flesh wriggled unusually from Batty's shattered body and suddenly flew toward the Three-Eyed Race Mo Luo. As expected, the power of dead souls. Mo Luo's third eye suddenly released a strong light. He could clearly see a fiendish soul hiding in the piece of flesh. Whoosh! A ray of dark green power shot into the ball of flesh from Mo Luo's third eye. Under that light, the flesh quickly disintegrated. Threads of angry souls twisted together appeared from the flesh. Castor! It is Castor's power. Mo Luo's expression was dark as he used the Three-Eyed Race's bloodline secret arts. Rays of green soul light came out of his third eye to fight those angry souls. Whoosh! At this time, an enormous corpse suddenly appeared among the enthusiastic Bone Race clansmen. Corpse demons! Those bone race clansmen showed happy expressions when they saw the enormous corpse appear. They thought that the experts of their race had come. Yet before they could beam, the enormous corpse started to kill them. Crack, crack, crack. Crack, crack. Other than Sarto, those bone race clansmen who had not reached rank 10 bloodline were crushed to bone shards in the span of a few breaths. The corpse demon of the Eisenberg family. Sarto gave a harsh scream and suddenly understood something when the enormous corpse demon appeared. Trucy came from Eisenberg family, one of the oldest and most powerful families of the bone race. Sarto had rejoiced after finding that Trucy had been possessed by Thamer. He thought that the Eisenberg family had no connection with Thamer and the Night Ghosts. He thought that Thamer had secretly killed Trucy. But when he saw the corpse demon killing members of his race, Sarto knew that something major had happened in the bone race. Yes, this Trucy was a loyal bone race clansman. After learning of the family's betrayal, he wanted to betray his family and tell you about the Eisenberg family. That's why I got permission from Eisenberg family and killed him. Thamer looked at Sarto and said in a ruthless tone, Castor has awakened. He went to the bone world, saw the patriarch of the bone race, and also went to the Eisenberg family. You are a rank 10 bone race warrior. You should have known that the Eisenberg family was the first to swear loyalty to Castor back then. This family always revered Castor and thought that Castor's glory would bring a prosperous era to the bone race. You old people are terrified about Castor's awakening. But the Eisenberg family and the other bone race clansmen are the exact opposite. They hope they can follow Castor like in the past. Sarto understood after hearing Thamer's explanation. The one who betrayed the bone race wasn't Trucy, but the family behind him, the powerful Eisenberg family. As one of the oldest families of the bone race, the Eisenberg family had always been full of ambition. The past alliance between the bone race and Castor had been formed by the Eisenberg family. In reality, the reason Sarto had secretly left to report the news of Castor's arrival to the elders of the bone race was because he wanted to avoid eyes of the Eisenberg family. The patriarch of the bone race knew the Eisenberg family's foundations. He knew that if he used the bone race's message artifacts, the Eisenberg family would learn of it. Lardigau wanted the Eisenberg family to learn of Castor a bit later, so he had Sarto pass on the message with primitive means. Pity he had not expected the Eisenberg family to learn the news early. Maybe Castor had found the Eisenberg family before seeing Lardigau and received the loyalty of the Eisenberg family. Due to this, the Eisenberg family could prepare ahead of Lardigau. No wonder the Night Ghosts came. It seems that even Bone World is in upheaval. Sarto felt anxious. He knew that many other bone race clansmen wanted to ally with Castor, just like the Eisenberg family. Those ambitious bone race clansmen would pressure Lardigau to submit if they learned of Castor's revival. The hand in the shadows was Castor. He used his own influence to secretly twist the state of the bone race. A titan? As Sarto thought deeply, Qianlai's green eyes in his blood-soul beast landed on the enormous corpse demon. He immediately realized the powerful being refined into a corpse demon was a member of the Titan race. His 8 god corpses were also members of the Titan race, one of the largest races in the universe. Titan race clansmen with peak bloodline had bodies that rivaled the great lords of the abyss, possessed endless power, and astounding combat power. The Titan race, with its sparse population, had almost gone extinct under the attacks of the Blaze family led by Lai Yen Yuan. The surviving Titans had almost all submitted to the Blaze family. However, when the Blaze family attacked Spirit Realm, another group had died. The Titan race was practically extinct in the universe. He didn't know where the Eisenberg family got the corpse of a Titan to forge into a powerful corpse demon. This corpse demon was more than 1,000 meters tall, as big as a giant volcano. The bone race clansmen near Sarto had been crushed into powder in a flash under the attacks of the Titan corpse demon. Qianlai felt with his senses and knew that the bloodline rank of the Titan corpse demon before its death should have been rank 10. This kind of Titan was terrifyingly strong and could fight great lords of the abyss. No wonder the low-rank bone race clansmen could not withstand a blow. Whoosh! A small and short white figure appeared next to the enormous corpse demon as Qianlai thought. That was another bone race clansman. Rigel! Sarto shouted angrily when he saw the other appear. His eyes filled with wild anger. Rigel was the second strongest person in the Eisenberg family, the second Bone Race clansman to have reached rank 10, famous in their race. His arrival and the existence of the Titan Corpse demon caused Sarto to understand the Eisenberg family had stopped hiding their actions. My brother, and the other members of the Bone that chose to ally with Castor should have reached the Bone world now. Rigel, who suddenly appeared, had eyes that glittered like jade. He looked coldly at Sarto and said, "The leaders of the Night Ghosts and other experts have also gone to the Bone world. If the Patriarch and Lord Brito support Lord Castor like in the past, Bone world will remain peaceful. The Eisenberg family will still listen to the Patriarch. However, if the Patriarch and Lord Brito disobey Lord Castor's orders, then my brother will replace Lartigau and become the new Patriarch of the Bone race." Rigel did not hide and honestly stated their ambitions and aims. He had received news that his older brother, the other Bone Race clansman, and the forces loyal to Castor had already reached the Bone world. So far into their plan, they had no reason to hide Thamer. "Emoluo," Rigel called. "Here," Thamer and Emoluo said in unison. "Keep Sarto alive. When Bone World sends news, if the Patriarch and Lord Brito are smart enough, Sarto can live." The rank 10 Bone Race clansman Rigel slowly landed on the head of the Titan Corpse demon. Then he looked at Xianxia and said, "As for this outsider, no matter what the Patriarch's orders are, he has no need to be alive. You can take care of him early." Then he patted the Titan underneath him. The Titan giant that had been refined into a corpse demon by the Eisenberg family silently reached toward Xianxia after receiving orders. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The copper-colored arm of the Titan formed gusts of wind as it swung. The strong wind was created from the bloodline power of the Titan. The wind gathered into blades that seemed to cut at the flesh of Xianxia's blood-soul beast avatar. The aura of death came from the winds that appeared able to corrode the vitality of living beings. Boom! The enormous body of the Titan was like a moving mountain that suddenly appeared above the blood-soul beast's head. The swing of the copper arm was accompanied by great pressure and howling destructive winds. Titan race. In his blood-soul beast state, Xianxia suddenly felt a headache when the power of the Titan came at him. His soul race secret arts could not be used to their full extent against a Titan corpse demon. This was a dead corpse without a soul. He could only use the blood-soul beast's own power to fight the rank 10 Titan physically. However, the strongest arts of soul beasts were still related to soul. He finally understood why the races of the universe thought the Bone race was the bane to the soul race. The Bone race that could forge powerful corpse demons without souls only had to control their corpse demons when fighting the soul race. That was enough to cause the latter big trouble. "I can only attack the master of the corpse demon." Facing the great pressure of the Titan, Xianxia's soul beast avatar continued to retreat. His gray eyes flashed with light and slowly locked onto Rigel of the Eisenberg family. The copper arm of the Titan corpse demon smashed onto the blood-soul beast with a gust of wind. Xianxia's blood-soul beast avatar did its best to dodge but was still hit. Boom! The blood-soul beast avatar spun and landed heavily on a meteoroid. The meteoroid, that had existed for an unknown number of years in the universe, immediately shattered. Whoosh! Xianxia's rank 10 subsoul flew out of the eyes of the blood-soul beast and immediately split up. One soul shadow fell down like blue ghost fire and headed towards Rigel of the Bone race. The other soul stayed inside the blood-soul beast and took the blood-soul beast far away from the enormous Titan race clansman. The other strands that had split apart surrounded Rigel. Careful! Thamer of the soul race saw Xianxia switch tactics and abandoning his soul beast body. He immediately issued a warning. Rigel also frowned. He hurriedly summoned the Titan corpse demon to use it against Xianxia's souls. The corpse demon stopped chasing the soul beast that had lost its main soul and lifted its hand to slap at Xianxia's split souls. From 1,000 meters away, the palm of the Titan flashed with light. Pop, pop! All the meteoroids along the way shattered under the wild power. The small pieces of rock flew in all directions. Motherf *****. Manage your dead corpse. Damn it! Even we were attacked. The Night Ghost's experts were coincidentally scattered around that area. They were hit by the exploding rocks and injured in the process. One rank 8 three-eyed race clansman had a rock hit penetrate his third eye all the way through. The clansman screamed in grief. He appeared to have lost half of his life. Lord Mo Luo, the screaming three-eyed race clansman, shouted in hopes that Mo Luo would get justice for him. Mo Luo, who was responsible for this matter, saw his subordinates being affected, his face turning green. However, he knew Rigel's strength. He knew that the Night Ghosts were inferior in status compared to the Eisenberg family in this mission. He could only ignore the wails of his subordinates. He didn't dare to blame Rigel. Seeing Mo Luo remain silent, the Night Ghosts could only accept their misfortunes. After seeing the situation clearly, they moved far away from the corpse demon to avoid being wounded again. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The copper light released by the Titan's giant palm passed through all the meteors blocking the way and landed on Qin Lai's souls. Oh! Qin Lai's wisps of soul felt a strong pain after being illuminated by that light. His souls that had split and were attempting to gather together could not quickly move together under the effects of the light. He could immediately cast the soul race secret art he wanted to cast on Rigel because his soul could not gather. Roar! At this time, the Titan corpse roared, his enormous body crushing the rocks as it flew over. The Titan corpse ignored the blood soul beast. Death entanglement! Gudas hurriedly activated his bloodline power, seeing Xia Lai trapped. Streams of gray death power came out of Guda's body and wrapped around the enormous body of the Titan. Strangely, the enormous corpse demon suddenly had difficulties moving under Guda's ability. Qin Lai could feel this death energy immediately penetrating into the Titan race clansman and forcibly changing its bloodline flow. He suddenly understood that Gudas was using the bloodline power he comprehended and the corpse-controlling arts of the bone race to disrupt Rigel's control of the corpse demon. Each bone race clansman had vast knowledge of corpse refinement arts in addition to comprehending death power. Gudas, who reached rank 10 bloodline, had been an important person in the bone race and was exceptionally talented. He had his own insights in controlling corpse demons with secret arts. Master, I did not refine this corpse demon, so I cannot affect it for long. Gudas hurriedly warned after slightly obstructing the Titan corpse's actions so that Qin Lai would gather his split souls as soon as possible. You will die. Rigel's jade-like eyes immediately showed great anger as he shouted at Gudas. Kill! The Night Ghost's experts led by Mo Luo suddenly surrounded Gudas and attacked. Kuan Luo, Shinda, and Tia knew that they could not avoid death if Qin Lai died. They could only help Gudas against their old friends. Qin Lai, as Gudas tangled up the corpse demon, finally broke free of the Titan race clansman's influence. His split souls gathered back together. Soul race secret art, soul plant. A magical soul mark flew out of his soul and disappeared. Rigel instinctively wanted to flee when he saw the mark appear. But the soul mark that came from Qin Lai seemed able to ignore the obstruction of space and suddenly appeared in front of his eyes. A wave of soul presence from Qin Lai appeared in Rigel's mind and suddenly increased in effect. At this moment, Rigel could feel that Qin Lai's resolve was starting to affect and control him. Rigel became dizzy, his eyes full of puzzlement. He could not discern who he was. He thought he was Rigel in one moment, and then he was Qin Lai in the next. Soul Plant was an evil secret art the Soul Race clansmen used to possess physical puppets. Those soul beasts had been completely taken over by Soul Race experts using the Soul Plant secret art. It was the same when Thamer killed Trucy. Planting one's soul mark and resolve into the enemy's soul to completely replace the other was a harder secret art than controlling a soul servant. Soul servants had their own souls and were temporarily enslaved. Once Soul Plant succeeded, Rigel would completely die, and his body would become Qin Lai's. Not good. Thamer saw hints of Qin Lai's soul shadow in Rigel's eyes and realized something was wrong. He knew that Qin Lai, who had rank 10 soul line, had the strength to successfully plant his soul in Rigel. Who am I? Who am I? Rigel stood amid the stars, his eyes confused. He sank into a nightmare he couldn't wake up from. The corpse demon he controlled also sank into a confused state due to the change in his soul. The Titan race clansman stayed there motionless as though it was accepting something. A moment later, the Titan race clansman roared and suddenly started killing the nearby Night Ghosts experts but crushing them into meat patties. The soul plant succeeded. Thamer's expression changed. His mood immediately turned gloomy. He knew that Rigel was dead, Xianxia completely replacing him. Pop, pop! The corpse demon waved its thick arms and crushed the Night Ghosts. Members whose bloodlines had not reached rank 10 were immediately killed. Not good. Thamer saw the unusual state of the corpse demon and knew that Xianxia had successfully planted his soul in Rigel. At this moment, Rigel was dead. Xianxia's soul had taken over Rigel and became the master of Rigel's body. Obviously, the corpse demon Rigel controlled started to listen to Xianxia's orders. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The Titan corpse released copper light and started to attack the nearby rank 10 experts of the Night Ghosts. Guda's, Kuan-Luo, and Tia's pressures eased greatly due to the help of the gargantuan corpse demon. This, Sarto of the Bone Race stilled when he saw Xianxia overtake the body of Eisenberg family's Rigel. A moment of thought later, he suddenly jolted and shouted, "Thamer!" Sarto mobilized his rank 10 bloodline and swung 2 giant bone blades as he charged toward Thamer inside Trucy's body. Crack, crack. Strange hair-raising sounds came from within Sarto's bone blades. That sound made even Thamer feel a hint of anxiousness. "Mo Luo!" Thamer shouted. The three-eyed race clansman Mo Luo knew that Thamer had extraordinary origins, but his bloodline rank was not high. He knew that Thamer was not a match for Sarto. Seeing Sarto target Thamer in anger, Mo Luo could only temporarily ignore Xianxia and help Thamer against Sarto. Soul plant? Wonderful. At the same time, Xianxia's soul completely entered Rigel's mind and refined his consciousness, leaving behind only memories. Through Rigel's memories, he immediately learned about the death power of the Bone Race and how to use their bloodline. He also learned how to control the corpse demon refined from Titan race clansmen. He also knew that Castor's avatar that had left 9 Hell's Purgatory went to the Eisenberg family not long ago. The Eisenberg family's patriarch, Bick, immediately swore his allegiance after recognizing Castor's avatar. After that, Bick immediately notified the Bone Race clansmen that had been loyal to Castor previously and gathered another force. When Castor went to see Lartigau, a group of Bone Race clansmen led by Bick was already preparing an uprising. Thamer of the Soul Race, the Night Ghosts, and some other forces sneaked into Bone Race's territory with the Eisenberg family's help. Those forces chose to join Castor after he woke up. However, in Rigel's memories, there was no explanation about the partnership between Thamer and Castor. Thamer was a Soul Race clansman, and Castor's death was deeply connected to the Imperial Soul Monarch. It could be said that while the 8 Devil Monarchs and the Demon Spirit of Space and Time Race had sealed Castor, the mastermind behind the ploy was the Imperial Soul Monarch. Castor should hate the Imperial Soul Monarch greatly. He should also think of the Soul Race as enemies. Rigel also didn't understand why Thamer would work with Castor and help them force Lartigau to join Castor. SST. He absorbed the memories in Rigel's soul at a lightning pace. He removed irrelevant memories of Rigel's life and only absorbed selected memories. After a while, he no longer felt any hint of Rigel's presence in the Bone Race body. Crack! He shifted his skeleton. Its jade-like eyes suddenly burned with green ghost fire. His soul presence completely took over Rigel's skeleton body. As he examined his bones that closely resembled jade, he rang the bell that resembled his corpse summoning bell. Ding, ding, ding! As the bell rang, the corpse demon suddenly gave off an earth-shaking howl. Waves of copper light spread in a fanship. An invisible power came out of those copper ripples of light and immediately drowned the dozen rank 10 experts of the Night Ghosts. There was a sticky power in the copper light that restrained the drowned Night Ghosts. Whoosh whoosh! The Titan race clansman opened its mouth and sucked it. He swallowed the copper light and the bodies of the experts of the Night Ghosts. These experts struggled furiously in the copper ripples of light, but death power came over them, corroding their life force. Their resistance was very weak. They soon entered the mouth of the corpse demon. Creak! Crack! The Titan race clansman closed its mouth and chewed vigorously. Blood leaked out of the corner of its mouth. The Night Ghost's experts didn't even have time to scream before they were chewed up and swallowed by the Titan corpse. Ha! Expected of a corpse demon forged from a rank 10 Titan race clansman. So strong. Thamer shuddered from terror. His soul suddenly flew out of Trucy's mind and split into several hundred wisps of ghostfire. The wisps of ghostfire flew in all directions like sparks. Before Qianlai could use a soul race secret art, he found that Thamer's split souls had disappeared completely. When Thamer left, the three-eyed race clansman Emoluo also appeared terrified. He looked coldly at Qianlai, who had taken over Rigel, and said, "The Eisenberg family will not spare you. Once things at the Bone World have settled, you will die." Subsequently, Emoluo turned into a bolt of green lightning and flew after Thamer. Qianlai didn't even have time to speak. The remaining members of the Night Ghosts attempted to flee but were killed by Sarto and Gudas. The state of battle started to turn after Qianlai successfully planted his soul in Rigel and used his body to control the Titan race clansmen to exterminate members of the Night Ghosts. The Night Ghosts experts could not withstand the power of the corpse demon and were killed. This Titan race corpse demon is ranked third in power among the Bone Race's corpse demons. Sarto looked with slight reverence at the Titan and said, "He is the ultimate treasure of the Eisenberg family. I didn't think Bick would leave him with Rigel and head to the Bone World without it." The corpse demon ranked third. Qianlai was shocked as well. Sarto slowly nodded and said, "His bloodline was rank 10 before death. He was a war god of the Titan race, but he was ultimately killed by Lian Yuan of the god race. The Eisenberg family used 3 large realms to trade for this corpse from the Blaze family. The power of this corpse demon might be even greater than Eisenberg family's patriarchs. I didn't think he would let Rigel bring it with him, just to be taken over by you." Sarto's words reflected his conflicted expression. The giant Titan's corpse was the third strongest corpse demon of the Bone Race. It was extremely powerful. The Eisenberg family had spent far too much resources to obtain this corpse. However, this giant Titan corpse had fallen into Qianlai's hands. It was true that Qianlai had used it to kill the Night Ghost's experts and defeated Thamer and Emoluo, but Sarto still felt a little uncomfortable. This Titan corpse demon was their treasure, and it rightfully belonged to the Bone Race. He didn't want Qianlai to have the Titan race clansman from the bottom of his heart. However, it was also true that Qianlai had saved him using the Titan. "What's wrong? Can't bear to part with it?" Qianlai walked up to Sarto in the body of the Bone Race clansman, Rigel. "It was the Bone Race's ultimate treasure," Sarto said with a clear look of pain. "Even if it was in the hands of the Eisenberg family until I took it over." Qianlai said while communicating with the soul he left behind in the Blood Soul Beast avatar. The Blood Soul Beast that had shied away from the giant Titan corpse earlier flew out from behind an asteroid and moved closer. The Blood Soul Beast stopped and hovered quietly in front of Sarto. Qianlai was controlling the Blood Soul Beast using a small part of his soul. Most of his soul was entrenched inside Rigel's body. It was so that he could command the Titan corpse demon. Ding, ding, ding. He shook the bell and called back the Titan who was busy killing the Night Ghost's experts. Bick of the Eisenberg family probably knows how to control this corpse demon too. "Do you think I should bring it back to the Bone World?" he asked suddenly. Sarto trembled at Qianlai's question. "Why you still want to travel to the Bone World?" Right now, the rebel army led by the Eisenberg family, the leader of the Night Ghosts, and some other minor forces had probably all invaded the Bone World. A great turmoil that affects the very future of the Bone Race was probably happening right now. If Qianlai was smart, he would leave the Bone World star system with his giant Titan corpse immediately. That was what Sarto had predicted Qianlai to do at least. But Qianlai had defied his expectations and insisted to stay on course to the Bone World despite knowing what was happening. "I'll do everything in my power to destroy Castor's plan. If I cannot hinder him, it's only a matter of time before I die," Qianlai said seriously. "What do you mean?" Sarto asked in confusion. "You don't know?" Qianlai looked surprised by Sarto's ignorance. The latter shook his head in response. When Qinlai's surprise had passed, he said, "I'll explain everything after I meet with Sala and the Bone Race's patriarch. You seem to know a little of Castor's power over dead souls," Sarto said reluctantly. Earlier, he had suspected if Qinlai, Thamer, and Emoluo were all slaves of Castor. It was only after Qinlai had successfully implanted his soul in Rigel and killed the Night Ghost's invaders with the giant Titan corpse that he started to believe that Qinlai and Castor weren't on the same side. However, Qinlai clearly knew a bit of Castor's power. "It's not something I can explain briefly." Qinlai looked towards the Bone World before continuing. "Lead us to the Bone World quickly. We should be able to help the Bone Race." Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Clumps of soul fragments suddenly flew out of the giant Titan corpse. They all belonged to the Night Ghost's experts it had just eaten. Whoosh! Qinlai's Blood Soul Beast avatar activated his bloodline power and executed the bloodline ability, Soul Devouring. The soul fragments were swiftly pulled into the Blood Soul Beast's stomach. The Blood Soul Beast could gradually strengthen its bloodline power by consuming souls. Some of the souls of the Night Ghost's experts who had been chewed up by the giant Titan corpse were at rank 10 bloodline. Their souls were a source of great nourishment to him. Not only did the Blood Soul Beast avatar regain all of its used energy in a short time, its bloodline power became stronger than before. This was why the Soul Race viewed the Soul Beasts as their best flesh and blood puppets. They greatly complemented each other. The Soul Beast avatar's bloodline abilities were all most practical and effective for a Soul Race clansman. Even Qinlai inside Rigel's body felt incredibly comfortable as the Soul Beast digested the soul fragments. "Are you sure you want to head to the Bone World?" Sarto asked seriously. "I'm sure." "All right. Then I'll take you there." Meanwhile, at the Bone World, the patriarch of the Eisenberg family, Bick, was leading his group of Bone Race traders, the Night Ghost's leader Talon, and a couple of minor forces towards the burial ground where the giant star beast was refined. The Bone Race patriarch Lartigao, Brito, and Sala were waiting for Sarto and Qinlai to show up. However, Bick was the one who showed up first. Lartigao immediately realized that Castor hadn't visited just them. He had gone to the Eisenberg family as well. "It's you." Lartigao stared at Bick angrily. "Bick, you're granted free passage to the Bone World. But why have you brought Talon and these outsiders with you?" They had received no warning about Bick's sudden arrival. It made Lartigao realize that some of his people had probably defected to Bick. He knew this was coming. Castor's appearance was sure to shake up the Bone Race. He just hadn't expected it to happen this quickly. Bick had appeared way too soon, disrupting his plans and putting him on the defensive. "Patriarch, you know why we're here." Bick of the Eisenberg family stared coldly at Lartigao as he said, "Lord Castor was here, but you had purposely kept the news under wraps instead of spreading it like you should. I know that you don't want to ally with Lord Castor just like before, but there are a lot of clansmen like me who believe that Lord Castor is our natural ally. His power over dead souls only robs the living of their souls, and we require the bodies of many experts. Our family had to trade 3 large-sized realms to the Blaze family just for that giant Titan corpse. It was a terrible price to pay. However, when Lord Castor was at his peak, a corpse demon like that would have come to us without us needing to lift a finger. At the time, even the Soul Race was afraid of us. The God Race and the Spirit Race also viewed us as equals. The Bone Race was at its golden age at the time. Lord Castor has awakened once more, and he'll take us back to our former glory. I cannot find any reason to turn down his offer." Bick declared his stance. The Bone Race clansmen behind him also echoed his declaration. They all wanted to ally with Castor just like before. Golden Age? Really? The Bone Race nearly went extinct because of him. We had to spend millions of years just rebuilding our strength. Do you want history to repeat itself? Lartigao asked harshly. If we succeed, then the only transcendent bloodline races left in the galaxy will be the Abyss Devils and the Bone Race. The God Race, the Spirit Race, and the Soul Race will be removed from the equation. I believe that it's worth the gamble, Bick said. Well, I don't think so, Lartigao retorted. Then I must say that you've outlived your position, Bick replied coldly. Sarto of the Bone Race immediately got moving after making up his mind to lead Qinlai to the Bone World. Unfortunately, the Bone Warship was destroyed, so Sarto had no choice but to do this in the dumbest way possible, flying towards his homeworld with his own power. The moment Qinlai realized what Sarto was trying to do, Qinlai immediately called out to him, "Wait, what's wrong?" Sarto asked in confusion. He thought that Qinlai had decided to change his mind and stay out of the Bone Race's troubles. "Are you going to fly back to your world?" Qinlai asked with a frown. "Well, yeah," Sarto replied. "I have a better way," Qinlai said suddenly. Sarto looked surprised. "What way?" "Come with me," Qinlai said. He then flew toward the cluster of floating asteroids behind him, which was the opposite direction of the Bone World. Sarto grew even more confused as a result. Although Qinlai had possessed Rigel of the Eisenberg family, it took time to digest the latter's critical memories and knowledge. Still, he had learned of a shortcut through Rigel. A short while later, Qinlai descended on an inconspicuous asteroid with Sarto, Gudaz, the giant Titan corpse, and the Blood Soul Beast avatar. This asteroid was dark blue in color, and its surface was full of holes. They were filled with a faint aura of death. "Over here." Qinlai flew toward a particular hole and shook Rigel's corpse bell once. Ding, ding, ding. The crisp sound and a bit of energy cut through the silence of the void for a moment. Creak! A loud, strange noise came from the sunken ground, and it slowly opened up like a creature's maw. Whoosh! A hexagonal teleportation formation made of bones abruptly rose to the surface. This is how Rigel and the Titan Corpse Demon had come over just now. "We can use it to reach the Bone World directly," Qinlai explained. Sarto stared coldly at the surface teleportation formation before saying, "So, Bick was planning to betray us since a long time ago. He should have reported construction of this teleportation formation to the Patriarch. Let's go." Ignoring Sarto's displeasure, Qinlai beckoned his soul slaves to follow him into the teleportation formation. The teleportation didn't look big, but everyone noticed its peculiarity the moment they stepped in. They suddenly became dozens of times smaller than normal. They were like ants compared to Sarto, who was still outside the teleportation formation. Whoosh whoosh! Qinlai's Blood Soul Beast avatar and the Titan race clansman's corpse also stepped in one after another. Despite their size, they all became dozens of times smaller when they entered the teleportation formation. "Interesting," Qinlai muttered to himself. This teleportation formation could probably teleport thousands of people at once. It was an entire level higher than the spatial teleportation formations he knew at Spirit Realm. Swoosh! Sarto was the last one to enter the teleportation formation. His gloomy eyes were a clear sign that he was furious by the Eisenberg family's transgressions. "We're heading over." Qinlai gave everyone a reminder before shaking the corpse bell once more. The teleportation formation abruptly brightened before the light wrapped them all completely. The world turned upside down for a moment, and Qinlai soon appeared inside a valley. They had arrived at the Bone World. Inside the valley, a dozen or so Bone Race clansmen saw Qinlai and saluted him hurriedly. "Lord Rigel!" These Bone Race clansmen were all members of the Eisenberg family. They were responsible for guarding this place. Crack! The giant Titan corpse abruptly burst out of the teleportation formation and crushed all of them into bits in one hit. These poor fellows were only at rank 8. In the blink of an eye, all of the Eisenberg family guards had been dealt with. It was only then Qinlai flew out of the teleportation formation and landed on the giant Titan's shoulders. He shot a glance at the distant mountains before looking at Sarto. "Now you can lead the way." The Bone Race's burial and corpse refinement grounds could be vaguely seen beneath the mountains and the gray-white sky. Broken bones could be seen everywhere on this cold and desolate land. The entire realm was filled with the presence of death and desolation. This was definitely the Bone World. Lord Brito's bone-burying ground isn't far away. "Let's go." Sarto took to the sky, checked his bearings, and ran off immediately. Qinlai sat quietly on the giant Titan corpse's shoulder and shook the corpse bell once. The Titan immediately started running. At top speed, the corpse demon was even faster than Sarto. Qianlai's soul servants wisely heeded their master's command and sat down on the giant Titan corpse's shoulder. Even Sarto had wised up and jumped onto its shoulder instead. It was much faster than him anyway. And so the giant Titan corpse ran violently across the cold, hard ground of the bone world like some giant god of an ancient world. That's the Eisenberg family's Titan corpse demon. Rigel has come. Oh no! That's the third-ranked corpse demon of our race. A lot of bone race clansmen ran toward Brito's bone-burying ground the moment they caught wind of the Titan's appearance. When they saw Rigel on top of the giant Titan corpse's shoulder, they all thought that new reinforcements had come to support the Eisenberg family. Sarto's a traitor too. I can't believe he's allied himself with the Eisenberg family. A lot of bone race clansmen gritted their teeth in hatred when they noticed Sarto on the giant Titan corpse as well. They knew that Bick of the Eisenberg family was trying to put down their patriarch Lardigau with a group of outsiders. That was why they had rushed in from everywhere to aid their race in its time of need. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. The giant Titan corpse's mad dash was loud and not subtle in the slightest. Even the nearby mountains were shaking from its footsteps. Eh? At the bone-burying ground, Bick of the Eisenberg family suddenly sensed the giant Titan corpse's aura. He looked towards the direction of the noise in puzzlement before thinking. I didn't order Rigel to come here. Did something happen? Bick knew that Castor had other plans to deal with Lardigau. The latter didn't require the full power of the Eisenberg family to dethrone. That was why he had sent Rigel and the Titan corpse demon away to cooperate with the night ghosts. Rigel was supposed to show up after receiving his summon. But the giant Titan had appeared in a hurry even though he hadn't made any attempt to contact Rigel. Confused him. The Eisenberg family's Titan. The Titan race clansmen slowly entered Brito's view. The elder saw Rigel and a person he wasn't expecting. Sarto. Sarto! Fury blazed in Brito's pupils as a shout burst out of his mouth. Beside him, Sala's fury had skyrocketed as well. Even Sarto has betrayed us. Sarto had always been the most loyal member of their faction. The fact that they had sent him to inform the elders of Castor's appearance was proof that they trusted him completely. However, Sarto was currently standing side by side with Rigel on the giant Titan corpse. They immediately thought that Sarto had betrayed them. Sarto's betrayal was a huge blow to their morale. They even started to suspect all the trustworthy bone race clansmen around them, wondering if they had all defected to the other side. Rigel actually managed to persuade Sarto into betraying Lardigau? This is a pleasant surprise. Bick also noticed that Sarto was standing together with Rigel after Brito's shout. He felt like an unexpected boon had landed right in his lap. Boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. The giant corpse demon ran toward the crowd imposingly. It never slowed even when it was near the bone-burying ground. Without waiting to stabilize itself completely, the giant Titan corpse abruptly stepped on Bick of the Eisenberg family. Bang! Bick was instantly crushed beneath its foot. Every bone race clansman and outsider present in the area were stunned by the unexpected turn of event. Everyone was speechless with shock with what had just happened. It wasn't the bone race clansmen either. Even the night ghost leader Talon and the minor forces knew that the giant Titan corpse was the Eisenberg family's strongest weapon. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to call it their ultimate trump card. Not only did Rigel pay a terrible price to trade it from the Blaze family, it took a mountain of resources and effort to finally refine it into a corpse demon. The fact that they had refrained from bringing in the giant Titan corpse even though they were trying to overthrow Lardigau right now showed just how precious the corpse demon was to them. However, this trump card had just attacked its master, Bick, without any warning whatsoever. No one knew what the hell was going on. Brito's harsh scoldings were cut short by the giant Titan corpse's unusual action. Sala had become speechless as well. They both stared at Sarto in confusion and tried to figure out what was going on. Boom! This time, the corpse demon moved again and tried to slap the night ghost's leader, Talon. What the hell are you doing, Rigel? Talon shouted at Qianlai angrily, but dared not clash against the giant head-on, dodging out of harm's way in a flash. He was a member of the Night Devil race. This race was rumored to have been birthed from a union of an Earth Demon race clansman and an Abyss Devil of the Darkness Abyss. Talon was the patriarch of the Night Devil race, and he had some Abyss Devil blood in his veins. For millions of years, his biggest dream was to lead the Night Devils back to the Darkness Abyss and replace its current ruler. That was why he had chosen to submit to Castor. No, he's not Rigel. Bik's sorrowful cry came from the bottom of the giant Titan corpse's foot. Crack! The sound of bone breaking came from the bottom of the giant Titan corpse's foot, followed by a sudden and powerful burst of strength. The giant Titan corpse's foot was slowly pushed up as a result. Swoosh! Having been pushed into the ground, Bik immediately dashed out from the bottom of the giant Titan corpse's foot the moment he freed himself. Bik glared hatefully at Qinlai before shouting, "Who are you?" "Greetings, Patriarch." Sarto jumped off the Titan and saluted Lardigao in a humble manner. Lardigao looked completely confused by Sarto's presence. He asked, "Didn't I ask you to welcome Qinlai?" "He's already here," Sarto answered solemnly. "He is? Where?" Lardigao asked in surprise. "Rigel." Sala was the first to react. "That's right," Qinlai replied. Sala had stayed at the Frost Desolation Abyss for a time, and he knew that Qinlai had a soul beast avatar. He realized what was going on after considering Rigel's unusual movements carefully. "It's you." Bik came to realization as well. Whoosh whoosh. Qinlai's blood soul beast avatar leisurely made its appearance from the sky right after that. Sala grew even more certain that Qinlai had possessed Rigel after seeing the soul beast. He asked suddenly, "This giant Titan corpse?" Qinlai casually shook the corpse bell once, and the giant Titan corpse beneath him immediately roared and charged at Bik and Talon again. He was informing Sala through his actions that the Eisenberg family's strongest corpse demon was under his control. As he digested more and more of Rigel's memories, Qinlai realized that Bik knew how to control the Titan race clansman, but needed the corpse bell as a medium. However, there was only one such corpse bell in existence, and it was in his hands. Unless Bik could kill him and take the corpse bell off his body, there was no way he could regain control of the giant Titan corpse. Gudaz greets the Patriarch and Lord Brito. The soul servant Gudaz also jumped down the corpse demon and saluted the Bone Race clansman while the Titan was busy harassing Bik and Talon. "You're—" Brito frowned a little. "He's my subordinate now," Qinlai interrupted. Brito hesitated for a moment before nodding at Gudaz. He said, "I don't know if you're doing this willingly or not, but it's a fact that you're standing here with us right now. We can reconsider the sentence of your former crimes." "Thank you, my lord." Gudaz sounded incredibly emotional. A long time ago he was a famous expert of the bone race. However, his family was small and weak, and it had been oppressed by another powerful family for the longest time. When Gudaz made a name for himself and reached rank 10, he ignored the laws of his race and attacked his family's oppressor. That powerful family was almost annihilated as a result. Brito had personally come after Gudaz after hearing the news. Gudaz learned that he was no match for Brito after they clashed, but he also knew that his fate would be tragic at best if he allowed himself to be taken captive. That was why he decided to escape the Bone Race's star system. After that, the Bone Race publicly declared their exile of their clansman Gudaz. If he ever showed his face in their territory again, he would be killed on the spot. After Gudaz had left the Bone Race, the powerful family swore to get rid of him and tried their best to kill him. Given no choice, he joined the Night Ghosts and was finally found a place for himself. However, he still thought of himself as a member of the Bone Race. He still dreamed of winning his clansman's acknowledgement and returning home one day. That was why he had always found an excuse to skip any Night Ghosts operation that involved the Bone Race. Many years had passed, and he was able to return to the Bone Race thanks to Qinlai. Even Brito had decided to reconsider his former decision to exile Gudaz. It was only natural that Gudaz was overjoyed by this. You would accept even the likes of Gudaz? It would appear that the Bone Race is in dire need of change. A cold, grudgeful voice came from the group of Bone Race clansmen behind Bik. It was a rank 10 Bone Race clansman, and he was glaring at Goudas with extreme prejudice. When Goudas matched eyes with his hater, he suddenly realized why Brito had decided to indulge him. It turned out that the Uhtred family, the powerful family he had nearly succeeded in eradicating, had joined Bic's side. Goudas was the Uhtred family's sworn enemy, and the Uhtred family was Brito's enemy. Naturally, Goudas' old crimes against the Uhtred family suddenly became a lot less of a problem. Patriarch, Lord Brito, leave the Uhtred family to me. Goudas volunteered himself. All right, Lartigau nodded and said, when this is over, I'll send out the order to permit you back into our race myself. Thank you, Patriarch, Goudas said excitedly. You can't seriously be thinking of overthrowing the current leadership with just this? Xianxia looked at his surroundings and discovered that the Bic's forces were fewer than he expected. Of course this isn't all our power. The leader of night ghosts, Talon, said coldly. Whoosh whoosh. A black, oval-shaped spatial passage suddenly took form above Talon. Roar. The roars of abyss devils could be heard from the spatial passage. Abyss devils. Xianxia's eyes turned serious when he heard the roars of abyss devils from inside the passage. He finally realized that Castor was unusually concerned with the bone race. Whoosh! A giant abyss devil with a long tail was the first to fly out of the spatial passage. By Castor's orders, I've come to help you. This great lord of the abyss clearly had rank 10 bloodline. At first glance, he looked like a giant crocodile that was covered in dark blue scales. He floated high up in the sky after he came to the bone world. His entire body was surrounded by rich abyss devil energy. Whoosh! 2 more great lords of the abyss flew out of the spatial passage after him. These new arrivals looked like they were evolutions of cave devils. They looked like giant beetles encased inside a turtle-like shell. Extermination abyss devils, said the bone race chief Lartigau while staring gloomily at the 3 great lords of the abyss. Extermination abyss. An instant later, Xianxia recalled that Xianxia of the winged race, one of the people he had encountered at the origin world, was a mixed blood between an abyss devil from the extermination abyss and a winged race clansman. Castor's birthplace is quite close to the extermination abyss. It's why the abyss devils there trusted him deeply and viewed him as their master. The great elder of the bone race, Brito explained in a soft voice. Most abyss devils don't want to be ruled over by Castor again, Lartigau said quietly. But there are 108 abyss levels in total, so some abyss devils are bound to think differently from others. Some of them were affiliated with Castor, and some of them cultivated the same truths of power. Whatever their reason may be, they all wanted Castor to return to peak strength. The extermination abyss was one of those few abyss levels that supported Castor from the start till the end. I see, Xianxia said with a slow nod. Get out of the way. The long-tailed great lord of the abyss that looked like a crocodile immediately pounced toward the giant titan corpse. Slap, slap, slap. Swinging his tail, he instantly became entangled with the giant titan corpse. As a result, Bic of the Eisenberg family and Talon of the night ghosts were freed from their predicament. Ding, ding, ding. Xianxia shook the corpse bell once, causing the titan to roar loudly. Its divine bronze aura and raw power instantly became stronger. At the same time, a rich aura of death appeared inside the godly presence. Although the great lord of the extermination abyss looked like it had the upper hand, it was actually losing a lot of life force every second. This corpse demon is my family's greatest treasure. It's extremely powerful, and it won't go down so easily. Bic stared coldly at Xianxia before saying, why don't we kill that guy and take back the corpse bell instead of attacking the corpse demon? Once I get the corpse bell, the corpse demon will obey me again. That's right, Talon said with a nod. The 2 great lords of the extermination abyss seemed to know Talon, because they immediately trained their violent gazes on Xianxia when Talon gave his approval. Xianxia frowned as he reevaluated the situation and both sides' strength again. The enemy consisted of Bic, Talon, the 3 great lords of the abyss, and 6 rank 10 bloodline experts made of bone race clansmen and other minor races. On their side, they had Lartigau, Brito, Sarto, Goudas, the giant titan corpse, Kuan-Luo, Xianxia, Tia, and finally him. At first glance, things looked pretty even. In fact, it looked like they were slightly stronger. He had no idea where Bick found his confidence from. However, when he noticed that the spatial passage above Talon's head was still intact, he realized that more great lords of the Abyss could be coming through. According to Lardigau, Extermination Abyss wasn't the only Abyss level that was loyal to Castor. If more great lords of the Abyss were to charge into the Bone World, the Bone Race wouldn't be able to fight them all. Castor sure is persistent, Lardigau said while staring at the spatial passage. He thought he could sense Castor inside the spatial passage, and it felt like he would arrive any moment. At first, Lardigau thought that a weakened Castor wouldn't be able to affect the Bone Race much. That was he had turned down the latter's offer for alliance. However, Castor probably realized that he had no intentions of submitting to him meekly when he left the Bone World. That was why Castor had employed his power and started his backup plan immediately after he left the Bone World. He would help Bick become chief of the Bone Race. Once Bick had become the patriarch of the Bone Race, he would have access to the Bone Race's resources and be able to deploy corpse demons on the battlefield. If there is no end to their reinforcement of Abyss Devils, it won't be easy to fight Castor at our current strength, Brito said with a sigh. Even he was hesitating and wondering if they should just cooperate with Castor like before. Qin Lai, what happened at the 8 Purgatories? Sala asked suddenly. Lardigau, Brito, and Sarto immediately looked at him as well. The reason these Bone Race clansmen hadn't fallen in line with Castor yet was because Castor had already failed once, and because they didn't know Castor's current condition. If Castor was sure to return to his peak and become the Abyss Master, if it was guaranteed that he wouldn't make the same mistake and be destroyed again, they might just choose to join him again. 2 of his 8 avatars had awakened at 9 Hells Purgatory and Yellow Springs Purgatory. The avatar at Yellow Springs Purgatory had claimed Grom and a couple more great lords of the Abyss, so that one should be able to return to peak form. Qin Lai paused for a moment to think. He added, the avatar at 9 Hells Purgatory failed to get anything, however. He had no choice but to retreat with nothing. Meanwhile, my main body is consuming the fragments of Yellow Springs Purgatory. I will become the new Devil Monarch. The other 6 Devil Monarchs are doing their best to stop Castor. He won't be able to restore all of his avatars easily. In my opinion, he's trying to use your power to restore himself quicker and become the Abyss Master once more. Otherwise, he could just threaten you after he'd returned to full strength. If he had chosen that route, you wouldn't even be able to resist. Qin Lai paused again before continuing in a chilly tone. Long story short, he is no longer as strong as he used to be after his first death. Since it's unlikely he'll become the Abyss Master once more, that old plan of his becomes even less likely. If you choose to serve him, all you're choosing is to die with him. Oh, is that so? Do you truly believe that? Castor's scornful laugh came from the spatial passage at this moment. Castor! Every Bone Race clansman, including their patriarch, Lardigau, frowned when they heard the laugh. Even Qin Lai looked slightly worried as Castor slowly walked out of the spatial passage. Castor looked both handsome and noble in his high-rank Abyss Devil form. He was wearing a luxurious purple suit, and his eyes were devilishly magnetic. Anyone who didn't know Castor would think that he was a pampered high-rank Abyss Devil of a powerful Great Lord of the Abyss. They would never be able to connect him and the former Abyss Master. However, both Lardigau and Brito knew him very well. They all knew just how ruthless and heartless he was. They'd also witnessed his cruel and bloodthirsty methods firsthand. That was why Lardigau looked afraid after Castor had returned once more. Didn't you say that you would give us time to think? Why have you gone back on your own words? Lardigau tried to put on a brave front. Castor smiled elegantly before replying, It's because I saw your decision in your eyes already. Maybe it's because too much time had passed. But you seem to have forgotten my methods. I'll help you remember all of them right now. Before Lardigau could say anything in reply, Castor looked at Qin Lai and asked, Why are you here? Why not? You're here, aren't you? Qin Lai countered. The Castor standing in front of him was probably his avatar at 9 Hells Purgatory. He wasn't as terrifying as the one at Yellow Springs Purgatory. Castor hadn't displayed an extraordinary amount of combat strength back at 9 Hells Purgatory. He had also left in a hurry after Xianxia had decided to retreat. That was why Qinlai wasn't too afraid of him. This Nine Hells Purgatory avatar wasn't too big of a threat. He didn't believe that this Nine Hells Purgatory avatar could turn the tides of the bone world single-handedly. I can dominate the battlefield. You cannot help Lardigao at all, Castor said before laughing. His eyes suddenly flashed while he was laughing. It was the power of the dead souls. An indescribable magnetic field suddenly appeared between him and Qinlai. It was something that drove a person's soul out of control and made them bloodthirsty and mad. Pu. The eyes of 10 low-rank bone race clansmen suddenly erupted like fireworks. Then, gray soul wisps started flying out of their eye sockets. Swoosh! The soul wisps instantly took on the shape of demons and kept Qinlai busy. At the same time, a powerful soul attraction force wrapped around the soul Qinlai kept inside Rigel's body and pulled it out by force. Come! Despite being several kilometers away, Castor was able to remotely control Rigel's body from a distance. An instant later, Rigel's body had been pulled right next to Bick of the Eisenberg family. Take your corpse bell, Castor said indifferently. Thank you. Overjoyed, Bick pulled the corpse bell out of Rigel's hands. Ding, ding, ding. He shook the corpse bell once, and the giant Titan corpse immediately knelt on the ground. Bick flew onto the giant Titan corpse's shoulder while looking overjoyed. Then, he stared at Qinlai while clutching the corpse bell, saying, I don't care who or what you are. I'm burying you here with Rigel. Shocked by Castor's demonstration of skill, Qinlai immediately summoned the Blood Soul Beast. Whoosh! The Blood Soul Beast's giant body immediately moved closer, allowing Qinlai's bodiless soul to re-enter it. Surprisingly, Castor did nothing to stop him. He simply watched him become one in body and soul once more. It was as if this soul race subsoul wasn't a threat to him in the slightest. He didn't even bother with Qinlai after taking back the corpse bell. Lardigao, what is your decision now? Castor said indifferently. Castor. It really is Castor. He's back. Meanwhile, a lot of bone race clansmen had reached the bone-burying grounds. They were here to support their race. When they saw Castor standing beneath the spatial passage, they immediately let out exclamations of surprise. Most of these bone race clansmen were Lardigao and Brito's men. Most of them were quite strong as well. Some of them had seen Castor before. They knew full well just how scary the former Abyss Master was. They were afraid of him from the bottom of their heart. Qinlai suddenly felt his heart sink when he looked at the new arrivals, Lardigao, Brito, and Sarto. He could see that these bone race clansmen were paralyzed with a deep-seated fear towards Castor. They seemed to believe from the bottom of their hearts that Castor was unbeatable. Suddenly, Qinlai realized that these people might still choose to submit to Castor unless he showed them decisive proof that the latter wasn't invincible. He needed to shatter the fear inside their hearts. The Castor in front of him was just a weakened avatar. If he could defeat him before all these bone race clansmen, he would be able to convince them to rebel against him. A wonderful opportunity had presented itself to him. If I can beat him, I can change everything. Qinlai started contacting his main body and his Dark Soul Beast avatar. The God Realm. Qinlai's Dark Soul Beast avatar hadn't returned to Spirit Realm after leaving Nine Hells Purgatory. Instead, he had come to God Realm through a hidden black hole inside the Abyss passageway. Austin was the one who pointed it out to him. The Dark Soul Beast avatar had just arrived at the Temple of Gods with Song Yi and Ganxing. Qinlai was having a chat with Han Che of the Profound Ice family and Lian Zhao of the Blaze family. They wanted to know what happened in the Purgatory after their departure, and Qinlai told them everything without hurry. Suddenly, Qinlai frowned a little before saying, one of Castor's avatar had gone to the Bone World. He's wreaking havoc over there. The Bone World. Han Che quickly figured out the reason before replying. He's probably trying to make them serve him just like before. Qinlai's Dark Soul Beast avatar nodded slowly. That is correct. Is your other self at the Bone World right now? Lian Zhao asked curiously. Yes, Qinlai replied before falling into silence. Then he said, The Bone Race Patriarch and his people seem deathly afraid of Castor. They can barely muster any thoughts of resistance. It's because the old Castor was ridiculously powerful. His methods were tyrannical and extreme, and even we had to be wary of Castor during the short period he was in control of the Abyss, let alone the Bone Race, Xianxia said darkly. The reason the Bone Race is afraid of him is because he nearly killed all of their experts single-handedly. In fact, Lardigau is the current patriarch of the Bone Race only because Castor had murdered his predecessor, right before his eyes. Castor was the one who killed the last Bone Race patriarch? Qianlai looked astonished. Xianxia nodded heavily before saying, he was basically invincible before the Imperial Soul Monarch made a move. If all 8 of Castor's avatars are allowed to return to peak strength and become the Abyss Master once more, the Imperial Soul Monarch of the Soul Race might be the only entity in the universe capable of fighting him. And how of the Darkness family suddenly appeared at the entrance of the Temple of Gods with a gloomy look. Behind him, Quangju of the Bloodthirst family and Yushi of the Light family also showed up with serious expressions on their faces as well. When they heard that Qianlai had arrived, these leaders had rushed to the Temple of Gods to meet him. However, they were ultimately slower than Xianxia and Lianzhao. Castor was a thorn in the side of all 5 patriarchs of the God race. They knew just how terrible and tyrannical Castor was at his peak. Even they had to avoid confronting the Abyss Master in a frontal clash back in those days. But Castor is weak right now, Qianlai said. That's right. Quangju grinned eerily and said, even I can defeat him if it's just one avatar. Even if we assume that this avatar is at peak form. Qianlai's eyes lit up upon hearing this. He said, all we need to do is show the Bone Race that Castor isn't invincible. Lardigau and Brito should be confident enough to rebel against him after that. I can beat him, but I can't kill him, Quangju added. Not even the Imperial Soul Monarch, the 8 Devil Monarchs and the Patriarch of the Demon Spirits of Time and Space were able to kill him. All they could do was seal him temporarily, and Hao said bitterly. He has entered the ultimate realm before, and the power of dead souls is notoriously strange and unpredictable. It would be incredibly difficult to kill and neutralize him completely, if not impossible. It's not that it's completely impossible, but that one person who could kill Castor completely had perished before him. Yushi of the Light family added. The other 4 patriarchs looked caught off guard by Yushi's remark. Then they started frowning in thought. The power of dead souls is the ultimate power of the world's souls. This dark, bizarre power is different from the Imperial Soul Monarch soul power, but it is still a kind of soul power. Yushi pondered for a moment before continuing. That's why the Imperial Soul Monarch wasn't able to wipe him out completely. The characteristics of their power were very similar. A pause later, he looked at Lianzhao and said, only the ultimate fire has a chance to break down his horde of dead souls into nothing. If someone in the Blaze family enters the ultimate realm, they might just be able to refine him to ashes. That is why Lian Yuan had taken part in the awakening of Castor. It's because he isn't afraid of him even if the latter did manage to become the Abyss Master again. He's confident that he could kill Castor if the need were to arrive. Qianlai exclaimed in shock. Lian Yuan can kill Castor? Well, he can't kill him right now, of course. Yushi shook his head while he spoke. But that's only because he hasn't entered the ultimate realm. If he succeeds, his Blaze family bloodline will climb to a whole new height, and he'll stand shoulder to shoulder with that flame devil king who'd burned 10,000 worlds. Lian Yuan must be confident in his chances, or he wouldn't have allowed Castor to return to his peak and become the Abyss Master once more. At its peak form, the Blaze family bloodline directly counters Castor's power. And Hao nodded slowly and said, that makes sense. Xianxia also voiced his agreement. That's right. The Blaze family bloodline should be able to break down Castor's dead souls at its peak form. If the King of Flame Devils is still alive, he'd be able to burn Castor to ashes as well. Unfortunately, Yusu shook his head. King of Flame Devils? Who's that? Qianlai asked curiously. He's the Abyss Master before Castor and the eternal pride of the Flame Devils. Yushi clearly looked respectful when he spoke of the late Abyss Master. I don't know much about the King of Flame Devils, unfortunately. After all, he had passed away before we were even born. All I know is what my elders told me when I was young. They said that the Flame Devil King is the ultimate ruler of fire, and that the cause of his death was a mystery to this day. Some said that he had died after engaging the Imperial Soul Monarch in battle. Some said he had slipped into fiendish rebound and accidentally refined himself into a strange meteor engraved with the ultimate secrets of fire. To us, he's a character from an ancient past. All the elders in our race who had seen him in person are long dead. So I've only ever heard of his name and reputation. Lian Zhao also let out a sigh before saying, I've heard of him from Uncle too. He said that the Flame Devil King's knowledge of fire is the best in the entire world. A meteor engraved with the ultimate secrets of fire? Qin Lai muttered to himself as a strange expression overcame him. It was because he was suddenly reminded of the meteor buried in the heart of the Vermilion Bird Realm's volcanoes. It can't possibly be that meteor, right? What's wrong? And Hao asked in puzzlement. Qin Lai didn't answer him immediately. Instead, he contacted his main soul and scanned Flaming Sun Purgatory for a bit. When he used his Dark Soul Beast Subsoul to scan Flaming Sun Purgatory, he felt like he was looking into his own bloodline or checking the inside his own mind. Before he knew it, Flaming Sun Purgatory had become his flesh and blood. It was an incredibly strange and profound feeling. Scanning Flaming Sun Purgatory felt like looking into his own Dantian spirit sea. He could see everything clearly and directly. A wisp of soul thought abruptly appeared in the Vermilion Bird Realm of Flaming Sun Purgatory. Ya! He immediately heard a cry from the fire spirit when his soul consciousness took form inside the Vermilion Bird Realm. He immediately realized that the fire spirit's presence was everywhere in the world. It had also become incredibly powerful. He saw burning lands, active volcanoes, and boiling lava flowing through the crevices on the ground. He saw many vermilion birds cultivating happily in this extreme environment. At the same time, he could sense the strange meteor imprinted with the laws of fire submerged in the hottest part of the world's flame. Is this the crystal of the Flame Devil King? His main body's one-level soul altar had once formed a connection with the meteor at the heart of the Vermilion Bird Realm's volcanoes. His body had also been tempered once by the meteor. He had imprinted the meteors with the words, Flaming Sun. He now shared a strange connection with it. The Flame Devil King is a flame devil whose bloodline had exceeded rank 10. If this meteor truly is his crystal, then it makes sense that it was compatible with my soul altar. After all, my one-level soul altar was originally an origin crystal of the Flaming Sun Abyss. It was also a product of the Abyss. The King of Flame Devils wields the ultimate power of fire. The Flaming Sun Abyss and my Blaze family bloodline were both power of fire as well. Perhaps that meteor really is the crystal of the Flame Devil King. Qin Lai thought to himself quietly as his soul consciousness continued to hover in the Vermilion Bird Realm's airspace. A while later, swoosh! His soul consciousness suddenly slipped into the heart of the flames. Deep in the center of the blazing flame, there was a crimson meteor sitting quietly at the bottom of a volcano. Strange, fiery patterns crawled across its surface slowly like it had a life of its own. The fiery patterns and the two words engraved in the ancient language of the Abyss, Flaming Sun, were shining dazzlingly like a divine sun. The laws, concepts, and truths of fire all seemed to be surging inside the fiery patterns. Any living being who could survive its extreme environment and observe the fiery patterns would be able to understand the essence of fire. It was a direct expression of the laws of power. Right now, Qin Lai's soul consciousness was hanging around the heart of volcano and observing the strange meteor. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that this meteor that had somehow landed on the Vermilion Bird Realm was the crystal of the King of Flame Devils. Wondering if his assumption was true, Qin Lai's soul consciousness abruptly took action. The God Realm in the Temple of Gods. Qin Lai's dark soul beast avatar inhaled deeply before pointing a finger upward. He drew the strange meteor submerged at the bottom of flaming sun purgatory with soul energy. This is... Lian Zhao trembled as he stared blankly at the meteor in the sky, observing its fiery patterns. For some reason, he felt like his bloodline was burning up the longer he stared at the fiery patterns. A burning hot aura slowly emanated from the crimson meteor. It was actually heating up the temple of gods. Surprised, Qin Lai attempted to explain himself. I'm just drawing that meteor with my soul energy like how you would draw a painting on a piece of paper. How is this? He could feel the temperature of the temple of gods rising because of the meteor he drew in midair. Lian Zhao had the Blaze family bloodline. Sparks were flying off his body even though he was doing nothing except glare at the illusory meteor. It looked like Lian Zhao had learned some profound secrets of fire just by staring at the patterns. It's just a picture? Han Che exclaimed in astonishment. Qin Lai nodded and said, I'm currently observing the meteor with a wisp of my soul. I want to confirm if this is the crystal of the king of flame devils. His declaration shocked all 5 patriarchs of the god race. Where is this? How did you find this? Lian Zhao stuttered. It was clear that Lian Zhao had forgotten himself. He looked like he wanted to travel to the meteor right now. What's wrong? Is it beneficial to your Blaze family bloodline? Kuang Ju asked. Lian Zhao nodded repeatedly while saying, the fiery patterns on that meteor contain the essence of fire. Even a mere picture is enough to boil my bloodline. Then it has to be it. Yushi inhaled deeply before declaring, if the rumors are true, then this meteor has to be the life crystal of the king of flame devils. Bang! Lian Zhao finally lost control of his bloodline and exploded into fire, heating up the entire temple of gods. You can stop projecting that meteor now. And Hao said hurriedly. Qin Lai realized his mistake and withdrew his soul energy immediately. The meteor he drew with his soul energy vanished without a trace, and Lian Zhao's rampaging bloodline magically subsided right after. He kept taking deep breaths to calm himself down before saying, that meteor is most likely the life crystal of the king of flame devils. Qin Lai replied calmly, the meteor is at flaming sun purgatory right now. It has merged with my soul altar, and has the words, flaming sun on it. Every patriarch shot him a strange look when he heard this. Your luck is just... And Hao shook his head while smiling. You're practically the embodiment of luck and destiny, Han Che said with a sigh. Qin Lai didn't grow proud because of their praises. Instead, he asked seriously, can this thing destroy Castor? If you can learn everything on that meteor, even Castor at his peak would have to avoid you. Yushi pondered for a moment before continuing. However, Castor is not yet at his peak, so you can probably cause him some trouble if you use this properly. If I understand you correctly, the avatar at the Bone World right now isn't at peak strength yet. So if you attack him with the power of fire on this meteor, I'm sure you'll be able to defeat him for sure. But how are you going to move it from Flaming Sun Purgatory to Bone World? And Hao asked. I'm the creator of Flaming Sun Purgatory and the new Devil Monarch. I also have the Galaxy Mirror, Qin Lai said with a smile. In that case, go give it a try, Yushi said with a nod. Do it. I'll head to the Bone World myself and see how my old friend is doing, Lian Zhao said. I'll come with you, Han Che also said. Qin Lai was filled with confidence after hearing their assurances. He immediately tried moving the meteor at Flaming Sun Purgatory. Meanwhile, at the Bone World, Lartigao of the Bone Race said suddenly after careful deliberations, let Qin Lai go, Castor. He only came here because of us. Castor, dressed in elegant purple clothes, smiled and said, have you decided? Lartigao nodded and replied, yes, I have. Castor's smile grew wider. Very good. Qin Lai, you may leave with your soul slaves now. Lord Castor, Bick of the Eisenberg family shouted. Talon of the Night Ghosts wore an urgent look on his face as well. Gudas, Kuan-Luo, Xianxia and Tia were originally experts of the Night Ghosts. However, Qin Lai had turned them all into his soul slaves. He wanted Castor to kill Qin Lai and free his people from captivity. He was sure that Castor had the power to do this. Relax. Castor waved a hand to calm them down before explaining, "This Qianlai is my chosen one. No matter how bright he shines, everything that he has is destined to be mine eventually. So I'm more than glad to see him grow stronger before my avatars return to their peak strength. After all, I'm the one who made him this powerful in the first place. So don't worry. What's yours will be yours eventually." "Understood. We will obey." Bic and Talon didn't understand what Castor meant, but they dared not disobey his orders either. They had no choice but to swallow their grievances. "Please go, Qianlai. The bone race is no match for Castor," Lartigao said while staring at Qianlai, when he remembered how Castor had cruelly murdered the previous bone race patriarch. His fear grew even deeper. "We accept your goodwill, but we don't wish to go extinct." "I'm sorry." Brito also apologized to Qianlai. Many bone race clansmen wanted to voice their own opinion, but they were all harshly silenced by their elders. The bone race seniors who came later also showed great fear towards Castor. When Lartigao finally decided to submit, a great sense of relief overcame their senses. It was only then they realized that their fear of Castor hadn't vanished despite millions of years. "You know what? I'm not leaving," Qianlai said with a smile. "I'm not leaving." Qianlai did not move a muscle despite being stared by Bic of the bone race and Talon of the night ghosts. "It's okay, Qianlai. There's no need for you to stay behind," Salas said hurriedly. He had stayed at the Frost Desolation Abyss for a long time, and he thought of Qianlai as a friend. He didn't want to see Qianlai's impulses get the better of him. When his father, Lartigao, had submitted to Castor, he knew that the bone race's future was set. The fact that Castor had permitted Qianlai to leave was already a better outcome than they expected. They didn't even have control over the giant Titan corpse anymore. Qianlai's decision to stay was practically suicide. He didn't want to see Qianlai sacrifice himself for nothing. "We've made up our mind, it's meaningless even if you stay any longer. You should just go," Lartigao also said. "There's no point in you staying behind." Even Brito had joined in on the persuasion. "Master!" Even Gudas and Kuan-Luo had grown anxious. If the bone race decided to fight Castor with everything they had, then it wasn't like they didn't have a fighting chance. However, the bone race had decided to stay loyal to Castor. They would only be attacked by all parties if they continued to linger. Qianlai's soul slaves knew what was about to happen, and all they were thinking about was leaving the bone world as soon as possible. They couldn't understand what Qianlai was thinking. "Heh, if that is your wish, then I won't hold back any longer." Castor grinned at Qianlai and said, "The only thing that's important to me is your real body, the one with the perfect blood in it. Your soul race sub-soul on the other hand." Castor shook his head as his eyes turned cruel and heartless. "Is completely useless to me. Eliminating you won't affect me whatsoever. Lord Castor, why should we go easy on him when he himself wishes to commit suicide?" Bic said in an inflammatory tone. Swoosh! Emoluo of the three-eyed race and Thamer in the body of Trucy suddenly showed up at this moment. "Leader!" Emoluo took a step forward before bowing towards Castor reverently. "My lord!" Castor gave him a nod of acknowledgement. Emoluo abruptly shot a glare at Qianlai before saying, "Leader, you can't let him go. He killed all our men." "Our men!" Talon of the night ghosts exclaimed in surprise. "He killed everyone besides me using that Titan corpse demon," Emoluo said angrily. "Even Batty is dead." His words angered Talon deeply. The night ghosts weren't a powerful force. They were at best a bunch of drifters who had come together as a group. However, they were still the power Talon had built bit by bit with his sweat and blood. He had wanted to use the power he had accumulated to invade the darkness abyss and become its ruler one day. However, not only had Qianlai turned the pillars of his forces, Gudas, Kuan-Luo, Exinda, and Tia, into his soul slaves, he had killed off most of his rank 10 experts as well. He and Emoluo were the only peak experts left in the night ghosts now. The night ghosts might as well be dead at this point. Not only was this force utterly incapable of taking on the darkness abyss, His status among Castor's subordinates would become much lower as well. Castor wouldn't care about the night ghosts because of their weakness. He wouldn't be able to accumulate much profit for himself. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that the night ghosts had been single-handedly destroyed by Qianlai. How could he possibly accept this? Lord Castor, please give the night ghosts justice, Talon yelled. He killed Rigel as well. Lord Castor, please don't let him leave, Bick also said. Castor frowned slightly after hearing Bick and Talon's requests. Talon and Bick were useful to him. They were also quite important in his envisioned power structure. He couldn't disregard their opinion completely. Moreover, Qianlai was the one who refused to leave. He had given him the perfect excuse to eliminate him. Lartigao, don't blame me for this. He's the one who asked for this. After thinking for a moment, Castor narrowed his eyes and stared at Qianlai coldly. He said, "If you insist on committing suicide, then I suppose I can help you on your way. Bick, Talon, you are free to do with him as you please." "Thank you, my lord." Bick and Talon immediately readied themselves for action. "Lord Castor, you promised me you'll let him go," Lartigao begged. "I already gave him a chance." "He's the one who threw it away," Castor said indifferently. He added comfortingly after pausing for a moment, "There's no need to be too anxious. The Qianlai in front of you is just an avatar. His true body is currently evolving into a devil monarch in the purgatory. So losing an avatar isn't that big of a deal." He then turned around to look at the three great lords of the abyss behind him. The three great lords of the extermination abyss immediately joined Bick and Talon against Qianlai upon seeing Castor's gesture. The group of rank 10 bloodline experts glared ferociously at Qianlai, looking like they would pounce him at any moment. "Who dares raise a hand against Qianlai?" Suddenly, Lian Zhao's shout cut through the air. Whoosh whoosh! Clumps of fire joined together to form a whole new spatial passage in the sky. Lian Zhao and Han Che then flew out of the spatial passage unhurriedly. "Qianlai is a member of the Blaze family," Lian Zhao declared proudly. "Anyone who harms Qianlai is an enemy of the God race," Han Che said in a chilly tone. "The God race? God race clansmen? How is this possible?" Lian Zhao and Han Che's arrival stunned many of the foreign experts present. Even Lartigao, Brito, and the rest of the bone race. They knew that Qianlai had some Blaze family bloodline in him, but judging from Salah's intel and the God race's usual attitude, they didn't believe that Qianlai shared a great relationship with the God race. They never imagined that two of the God race's patriarchs would show up personally to support Qianlai. The God race! The forces who were even weaker than the night ghosts cowered like mice before cats when they saw Lian Zhao and Han Che. They tried to hide themselves behind cover so that Lian Zhao and Han Che wouldn't spot them. Even Bick and Talon looked very surprised. They were aware how powerful the God race was. They had no intentions of clashing against the God race at this time. Unless Castor returned to full strength, became the Abyss Master, and regained control of all the Abyss Devils, they were simply no match for the God race at all. The God race had ruled over a corner of the galaxy for tens of millions of years. The Bone race could invest all their power and still be no match for the God race, let alone the Eisenberg family and the weakened night ghosts. Lian Zhao, Han Che. Castor announced their names with a cold expression. He looked a little annoyed by the unexpected disruption. "Castor, this avatar of yours hasn't regained its peak strength. And the one at Yellow Springs Purgatory is still digesting Grom and Lawton's bodies, am I right?" Lian Zhao said calmly with a chuckle. "Why don't you wait until all 8 of your avatars have regained their strength before you come out and play? For now, you don't have the power to change the universe." Lian Zhao was already displeased with Castor way back at Yellow Springs Purgatory. If Castor hadn't awakened from his slumber, they absolutely could have consumed Yellow Springs Purgatory bit by bit. As for the rest of you, he looked at Bick of the Eisenberg family, Talon of the Night Ghosts, and the warriors of minor races before declaring, "I'd advise you lot to vanish from my sight as soon as possible. Qianlai is a God race clansman. Anyone who tries to kill him is an enemy of the God race." Han Che joined in on the threat. Bick, Talon, and the rest of the experts looked at the patriarchs gloomily. Lian Zhao and Han Che's open support of Qinlai had put great pressure on them. The God race was one of the 4 transcendent bloodline races, and they were both powerful and forceful. Talon might have the courage to wreak havoc in the bone race's territory, but he would never dare do the same to the God race. They knew full well that the God race could wipe them from the surface of the universe easily if angered. The reason Talon chose to join Castor was because of his strength and old fame. However, it was a fact that Castor had died once and lost his strength. Castor could drive the God race away if he became the Abyss Master and the ruler of the Abyss once more. But right now, Castor isn't invincible. Qinlai wasn't looking at Bic or Talon. He slowly transformed into human form while facing towards Lartigao and Brito. He said sincerely, "It's a fact that Castor was beaten when he awakened at 9 Hells Purgatory and Yellow Springs Purgatory. If he was truly invincible, both his avatars would have returned to peak form already. His 6 remaining avatars won't be able to recover that easily either. Right now, he isn't as strong as you imagine him to be. You have the power to resist him." A third spatial passage slowly took form in the sky as he spoke. This time it was a spatial passage that looked like ice. A terrible heat wave gushed out of its entrance the moment it took form. Whoosh! A giant, burning meteor flew out of the spatial passage. The surface of the crimson meteor was covered in countless fiery patterns. The surging patterns seemed to contain the ultimate secrets of fire. It was as if the entire bone world was ignited the moment the burning meteor had appeared. Every being in the bone world could feel something forcefully altering the natural laws of the bone world. What is that? Even the natural laws of the bone world are being affected. Is it a divine grade artifact? The bone race clansmen suddenly erupted into discussion. Even their bloodline had been affected by the meteor's appearance. The bone race preferred cold, dark places. They were less adaptable to hot environments. Castor, after Qinlai had taken on human form, he suddenly landed on top of the fiery meteor. In that moment, it was as if the meteor had transformed into his soul altar. He flew straight towards the former Abyss Master. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In that moment, the very sky itself became covered in flames. It was as if the sky had been replaced by a sea of fire. This is the aura of the ultimate fire, the most ancient power of the Abyss. The 3 great lords of the extermination Abyss shouted loudly in the sky. They could feel an indescribable sense of fear growing inside them as they stared at the enlarged meteor. The fear came from their bloodline itself. They were all rank 10 great lords of the Abyss. The fact that their bloodline was afraid could only mean one thing. They were facing an Abyss Devil who was much, much, much stronger than they were. When a low-rank Abyss Devil met a high-rank Abyss Devil, they would feel an instinctive sense of fear that made them feel like groveling. However, they were all rank 10 Abyss Devils, great lords of the Abyss. They shouldn't be this afraid even if they were facing the 8 great devil monarchs right now. This fear was something that only an Abyss Master could induce. These 3 Abyss Devils had only hit rank 10 during the past million year. Therefore, Castor was the only Abyss Master they knew. However, the ancient aura of the Abyss emanating from that burning meteor was extremely hot and fiery. Clearly didn't belong to Castor. However, there was no mistaking the pure and ancient aura of the Abyss inside that meteor. It was something that terrified their very bloodline. All 3 great lords of the Abyss were suddenly gripped by a deep sense of unease. This aura... Lartigao, patriarch of the bone race, suddenly realized something. The aura of the King of Flame Devils. Heavens, this is the aura of the King of Flame Devils, isn't it? Brito, the great elder of the bone race, screamed. Brito was the oldest clansman of the bone race. He might not have seen the King of Flame Devils himself, but he had heard of him from his seniors. Extreme heat, a pure and ancient aura of the Abyss, and a power that could terrify even the great lords of the Abyss. The only person that matched all 3 characteristics was the Abyss Master before Castor. The King of Flame Devils. Do you mean the ultimate ruler of fire and the eternal pride of the Flame Devils? Sardo exclaimed in shock. Who else could it be? Brito said with a bitter smile. But how in the world did Qin Lai manage to recruit such a person? Sarto asked in confusion. How would I know? Brito retorted with a huff. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The entire sky was flooded in a sea of fire. The three great lords of the extermination abyss were so terrified that they landed on the ground. They subconsciously looked at the spatial passage Castor had created, ready to escape at first notice. It's his aura. For the first time, Castor looked panicked. Lian Zhao and Han Che's arrival had surprised him, but that was all. However, the soulless meteor that only possessed nothing except extreme heat had terrified him the moment it appeared at the bone word. It was clear that Castor was more afraid of a soulless king of flame devils than Lian Zhao and Han Che combined.